Good evening, everybody. Welcome to City Hall. Welcome to the Hayward City Council meeting, March 19th, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I'd like to ask Councilmember Andrews to please do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand if you're able to.
Thank you. Next, Madam City Clerk, if you can take the roll.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Andrews.
Present.
Councilmember Bonilla Jr.
Present.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Present.
Councilmember Roach.
Present.
Councilmember Sarah.
Present.
Councilmember Cermeño. Mayor Salinas.
Present. Thank you. Next, Mr. City Attorney, if you can give the closed session announcement, please.
Thank you, and briefly, Mayor and Council. First, the Council did not reach the labor item. That will be continued, I think, to the next meeting. All members of the Council were present, and the meeting was convened at 5:30. The Council did discuss one matter related to anticipated litigation, took no reportable action, and the other matter involving a security risk the Council discussed, and then the Council is anticipated to take action on number 4 of the consent calendar. That completes the report. Thank you.
Next, we have a couple of special presentations. The first one will be for the American Red Cross. This is March is American Red Cross Month, and I know we have 2 representatives from the Red Cross. We have Mr. Michael Gregory, who not only is he with the Red Cross, but he was also a council member from the great city of San Leandro, also, we have Mr. Hartman, also from the Red Cross. I don't know if Mr. Hartman is Mr. Hart, he's not here. It's just you, Mr. Gregory. You know, in true San Leandro fashion, regardless of the situation, you're here. Okay, so I do have a resolution, and I know you come every year, and I really appreciate it. What we'll do is I'll read the resolution, and then we'll do a quick photograph, and then you can have a couple of words, and then that'll be it, okay? All right, so, and if I can ask Councilmember Bonilla to hold that up. Okay, so this is a proclamation presented to the American Red Cross of Northern California Coastal Region. Whereas the American Red Cross was founded on May 1881 by Clara Barton, and this year marks their 143rd anniversary, and whereas the American Red Cross has touched many lives in the city of Hayward, as well as across the country and around the world, and whereas during American Red Cross Month, we thank those who contribute to the mission of the Red Cross, whether through time, money, or blood, and we invite others to support the Red Cross in helping people in need down the street across the country and around the world. And whereas the American Red Cross is synonymous with helping people and has been doing so for more than 140 years, throughout the past year, American Red Cross launched hundreds of disaster relief operations in the United States to help people affected by fires, floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes. Whereas the American Red Cross Northern California Coastal Region works tirelessly to provide support when disaster strikes. With over 1,600 volunteers in Alameda County, the American Red Cross Bay Area chapter assisted or responded to 226 disaster operations in 2023, received 29,497 blood donations in 1,161 blood drives from donors throughout Alameda County, and provided 788 local individuals and families with fire prevention, training, and supplies, and responded to 368 and responded to 368 members of the armed forces. And whereas in the past year, the American Red Cross trained 12,177 residents in life-saving first aid, CPR, and AED trained 3,116 people in aquatics and water safety, and installed 807 smoke alarms, and 232 homes were made safer through the Home Fire Campaign. And whereas for nearly 100 years, the United States presidents have called on the American people to support the Red Cross and its humanitarian mission. Our community depends on the American Red Cross, and because it is not a government agency, the Red Cross depends on support from the public to continue its humanitarian work. This is especially important in those challenging economic times which impact the Red Cross and many people in our community and across the nation. Now, therefore, I, Mark Salinas, Mayor of the City of Hayward, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2024 as American Red Cross Month. Mr. Gregory, congratulations.
Red light.
Red is on here. So let's do a picture first with please put it here in the middle so we got the.
I don't know, council members would like to join?
Yeah. Perfect.
Be brief, be beneficial, and be gone. So, we're moving our operations on Claremont, where we have housed some of our blood services operations, to 1001 Davis Street. San Leandro, it's happening right now this month. So we're gonna have a lot of blood on the shelves nearby, but we still need to donate. So, second point. Our basic blood donors are aging white Caucasians who are now aging nicely and becoming recipients. So however we get the word out that you're all welcome to donate, please do. Our patients that we serve in our hospitals are not just aging white Caucasians. So we now know in 2024 that if we match the blood to the recipient better than we have, we'll get better outcomes. Just plain, pure, simple. Particularly if you've been transfused a lot. And number 3, sound the alarm. So vulnerable populations, typically, not always, but can not have smoke alarms. And Red Cross dispatches groups of volunteers to go out into communities ahead of time to install smoke alarms free of charge. Plain, pure, simple. Saves lives. So it's a bad day if you're ever on the receiving end of things Red Cross. I implore you to get on the giving side. And it's good karma too. And thank you so much, Hayward. You guys are great. And we're right next door if you need help. Have a good meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next special presentation is Women's History Month proclamations. And I am deferring this to my 2 colleagues, Councilmember Andrews and Councilmember Roach. And Councilmember Andrews is going to do the first 4 whereases, and then Councilmember Roach is going to do the next preceding whereases, and then as a council, we'll all go down, take a big group picture, and then there'll be some time to have some words. Councilmember Andrews, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas in 1978, the first Women's History Week was a local celebration in Santa Rosa, California, that expanded on International Women's Day, which started in 1911. And whereas women's groups led by the National Women's History Project advocated for 6 years to expand to a month-long celebration, which was first recognized by the United States Congress in 1987 to honor women's contributions to the culture, history, and development of the nation. And whereas the 2024 Women's History Month theme is Women Who Advocate for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And whereas the City of Hayward is committed to using an intersectional approach that frames gender equity in the context of racial equity to improve city processes, services, and projects for the benefit of women and girls in the community. And
Whereas, many local agencies are committed to supporting the lives and livelihood of women and girls in the Hayward community, including but not limited to Love Never Fails, Ruby's Place, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter, League of Women Voters of the Eden Area, Safe Alternatives to Violent Environments Incorporated, Family Violence Law Center, American Association of University Women, and the San Francisco Bay Area National Pan-Hellenic Council. And whereas the City of Hayward Public Library is recognizing Women's History Month with a series of events at both branches throughout the month, including book reading and author signing events, women and girl-focused displays, recommending reading lists for all ages, a scavenger hunt, and a family art class. And whereas elected officials in the City of Hayward have accomplished many strides towards advancing diversity and inclusion, notably Hayward's first woman mayor, Ruth LeBoyd Rogers, first African-American woman, Mayor Pro Tem Angela Andrews, first Latina woman council member, Elisa Marquez, who now represents Hayward and District 2 as supervisor on the Alameda County Board of Supervisors. First Afghan woman council member, Aisha Wahab, who is now a senator in the California State Senate representing Hayward and Senate District 10, and is one of the first 2 Afghan women elected to public office in the United States. And now, therefore, do you take that one or do you want? And now, therefore, Mark Salinas, mayor of the City of Hayward, hereby proclaims March 2024 as Women's History Month.
Yeah, I didn't have the sheet in front of me. But okay, and so we are going to take a picture with the 3 designees that are going to come and have the proclamation. And so if we can have them come on up, and then we'll take a picture. Oh my gosh, every picture.
There we go.
Look right here. Pillars.
And then everyone can make a brief statement. Yeah. Red is on, so you're good.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here today to represent women, courageous women throughout Hayward, throughout the Bay Area, that are overcoming so much to show up in such a beautiful way in our community. As many of you know, I represent survivors of human trafficking here in the city of Hayward and throughout the United States. And I just am so honored to be able to speak to the courage of a survivor of domestic violence or human trafficking or sexual assault, and just the tremendous resilience that one has to demonstrate to overcome that and show up. Hi, I didn't see you, I didn't get to hug you. And so I just appreciate you all so much for taking the time to recognize women, the resilience of women, the contributions of women academically, socially, emotionally, and financially, and on and on and on. And I am so honored to be recognized with the other agencies and also the other powerful women that are represented in this group and this resolution. So thank you so much.
And just for the audience, you're Vanessa Russell.
I'm
right?
Vanessa Russell from Love Never Fails. Yes, thank
okay,
you so
good.
much.
Thank you. And then, of course, representing Pi Beta Sigma, San Francisco. Or how about we can go to the April, right? No.
My name is Erica Albury, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Erica Albury. There. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay. From
Thank
Phi
you
Beta
for-
Sigma. Okay. Yes.
Nope. My organization is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, but I am the president of the San Francisco Bay Area NPHC. So to Mayor Salinas, City Council members, Equity Inclusion Officer Josephine Ayankoya, members of the San Francisco Bay Area MPHC, and esteemed guests and attendees. Again, I am Erica Albury, President of the San Francisco Bay Area National Panhellenic Council. On behalf of the 26 chapters that make up our council, we thank you for the recognition and recognizing the impactful community service and advocacy of our organization, and specifically our sororities, as we celebrate Women's History Month. The MPHC was established in May of 1930 when 5 Black Greek letter organizations collaborated to address shared concerns, both nationally and locally. Today, we are comprised of 9 organizations: Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and lastly, Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Our sorority's local impact is felt even if you've never heard of our organizations. If you've heard of children coming home with green grocery bags filled with food items, thank a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for addressing food insecurity. If there was an increase in voter registration before the local primaries, thank a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Thank you. Want to educate yourself further on triple-negative breast cancer? Reach out to a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated for resources. Lastly, if you have concerns about Black and brown children drowning at 3 times the rate of white children, reach out to a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, as they have partnered with USA Swimming to offer free swim lessons to children of color. I don't want to take up additional time, but I appreciate the fact that you have recognized our efforts with the quiet but impactful work that we're doing in the community, specifically in the city of Hayward. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Albury. And then our next speaker, and last time I got this incorrect, but tonight I've been practicing.
Okay.
Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Ms. Lampkin.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. So to the distinguished mayor, my new friend who has learned how to say our name, and all of you, the council members, and all the esteemed guests and everyone in the assembly, good evening. My name is April V. Lampkin, and I'm the president of the Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And on behalf of the members of our chapter, it is a special honor to be here once again in front of you to accept this proclamation. So thank you once again. We do not take it lightly that you continue to recognize us in our community. I'd also like to acknowledge and say congratulations to the other organizations that are being represented tonight and recognized for the powerful work that they're doing in the Bay Area as well as in Hayward. Women's History Month honors the contributions of women to American history, culture, and society, as you've mentioned. Throughout Women's History Month, we celebrate the contributions of strong women from the past and the present. This celebration helps us to learn about the often overlooked achievements of women who have made positive and influential changes in our world. It also recognizes the sacrifices that have been made by women, for women, to make the world a fairer and a safer place for us all. Women's History Month is inspirational for future generations. Not only is Women's History Month a time of reflection, but it's also a moment to recognize how the efforts and the bravery of all generations and past generations continue to pave the way for women today. And it's very special for Delta Sigma Theta because this is also the month that we celebrate sisterhood. And speaking of trailblazing women, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded on January 13, 1913, by 22 phenomenal collegiate women at Howard University to promote academic excellence and provide assistance to those in need. The Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter was chartered on March 2, 1990 by 20 visionary Deltas to serve the needs of the cities in the southern Alameda County of the Bay Area in Northern California. Since that time, HTCAC has built a legacy of service within our service area by promoting academic excellence and scholarship, encouraging social action and political involvement, and providing quality programs and services to meet community needs and concerns. We serve Hayward, Fremont, Newark, Union City for the past 34 years. We just had a birthday. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a remarkable organization that empowers women through various initiatives. Some of the other ways in which our organization supports women are through civic betterments and social improvements. We engage in civic duty. Our mission is to create positive change by promoting equality, justice, and greater political awareness. Through our Delta for Women in Action D4 program, we work to enhance social action, civic engagement, and public affairs involvement. Our programs and impact. With a sisterhood of over 300,000 college-educated women, Delta Sigma Theta continues to make a positive impact on communities. We have 3 core principles: scholarship, encouraging academic excellence, public service, engaging in community service and social action, sisterhood, building strong bonds among members, and as I mentioned, we are celebrating Sisterhood Month this month. Historical advocacy is another core value, which has a rich history of advocating for women's rights. We marched for women's suffrage even before we as women had the right to vote. Through our global change and community support, we are a sisterhood of predominantly Black, educated women, college-educated women committed to providing assistance and support through established programs worldwide. In summary, Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated empowers women by providing opportunities for personal growth, leadership development, and community engagement. Our legacy continues to make a significant impact on women's lives across the globe. So in closing, I would like to once again thank you for giving this opportunity to speak this evening and this honor of giving this proclamation to our Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter. And we look forward to continuing the work within Women's History Month, women's advocacy, our political engagements with you, and anything else that you need from our chapter. We are here to serve. And so we look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have to apologize. While we had the 3 frames up here, I had one more sitting here on my desk, and I looked in, and there was a little tab in there that said, it's for our library director. So as you come up, I did want to acknowledge our library director, Director Adelman, who, along with all of the accomplishments of all of our speakers this evening, the one person who in our city who is responsible for educating our kids and our families and everybody about the just the significance of Women's History Month, and really our chief educator of our city, our director of our library and our librarian, Miss Adelman, Director Adelman. And I'm going to walk down there. I'm going to give this to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Salinas. Thank you, City Council members. I really appreciate this. I will say I did not come prepared to speak, but I thank you so much. I invite everyone to come to the library, help us celebrate, participate in all that we're offering. But I also want to say we are a women-dominated department, and I really appreciate the support we get from you. But I'd also like to take a moment to recognize that there are other genders. We have our transgendered siblings. We have our, we have just many other groups that are being left behind, and really to take this moment to reflect not just on how we raise up women, but we raise up all genders and anyone who has been left behind. I thank you so much and really welcome you to come to the library and celebrate with us.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, get it. And of course, I'm not going to miss this opportunity to take a picture with our Okay, let's give all of our presenters a big round of applause and thank them for their contributions. Okay, the next item is public comments. The public comment section provides an opportunity to address the City Council on items not listed on the agenda or informal or informational staff presentation items. The council welcomes comments and requests that speakers present their remarks in a respectful manner within the established time limits and focus on issues which directly affect the city or are within the jurisdiction of the city. As the council is prohibited by state law from discussing items not listed on the agenda, items will be taken under consideration and may be referred to staff. The City Council welcomes comments, including criticisms about their policies, procedures, programs, or services of the city, or of the acts or omissions of the City Council. Speakers shall not use threatening, profane, or abusive language which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of a City Council. The city is committed to maintaining a workplace free of unlawful harassment and is mindful that city staff regularly attend council meetings. Discriminatory statements or conduct that is hostile, intimidating, oppressive, or abusive are per se disruptive to a meeting and will not be tolerated. Public comment via Zoom has been suspended. With that said, I would like to turn to our first public commenter, which is Mimi Bauer. No? Oh. So then I guess, Mr. Mendel, these are all for the one item?
Those are for the work session.
Okay, so is there any public comment? Otherwise, seeing none, like to close public comment, next move to city manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Wanted to share an announcement from our esteemed library director, who you just heard from. The Hayward Public Library is proud to be bringing back a popular Jobs Forward event, which is a jobs and career resources fair. The program will be held this coming Saturday, March 23rd from 10 a.m. to noon in the Fremont Bank Room on the second floor of the downtown library. Regardless of your area of interest, your experience, your qualifications, job seekers will be able to meet with a wide range of potential employers as well as agencies that assist job seekers. This program is offered in partnership with Rubicon Programs, is partially funded by the Alameda County Workforce Board, and is free and open to all. And we hope everyone will join us that is in search of employment. Thank you.
Okay, next, thank you. Our next are our action items, is our consent calendar. And before we go to a vote, I wanted to see if anybody wanted to pull an item. I wanted to pull item number 3, and just wanted to see if this.
I have a comment about 5.
Number 5. Okay, and then, okay, so then let's, what we can do, then let's vote on items 1 and 2, and then item 6, correct?
4,
Oh,
5,
and
and
4.
6.
Did I say 4? Did I say? And 4, okay, including 4, correct. Okay, so if I can get a
Move
motion.
the items.
Moved by Councilmember Andrews, seconded by Councilmember Zermeño, and if there are no other questions, Madam City Clerk, if you can take the roll.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, so no objections, we could go ahead and...
Oh, so there are no objections, so they will unanimously pass. Then next, I'd like to go to item number 3. Item number 3 is the it's the adopt the resolution authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute a ground lease with Raja Indian Cuisine for a property at 1275 West Winton Avenue. And I just wanted to just make a comment, I guess, more so to this item. This item, we have been working with the with Mr. Baines, the owner of the business, and also his consultant, Satish, and it has had several iterations of the drawings and the plans. I just wanted to say that I like where we have landed, and I know they're here in the audience today. We have had several conversations about them. I'm very pleased to see it end where it has ended. One of the main things that I wanted to publicly mention was, this particular corner, as they have acknowledged, is really a gateway that goes into our industrial area right off of Hesperian Boulevard. And the building on that corner, will really make a statement as people drive into this area. And one of the points I had asked them to change, and they very much did, and I want to acknowledge that, is that the color of the building and the sort of the vibe of the building matched and were in much respect harmoniously connected to our firehouse station 6 and the training center. I like the elements that you've included, the red rooftops, and then of course in the back on the drawing that I saw, you put sort of a propeller in the back on the back ledge dining room. Anyways, I don't want to get too much into it, but you guys did a great job. Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge the work that you've done on this, and I wanted to thank you for that. And as we get to see this building in its final construction, hopefully we can get to the closest possible we can to those renderings, and I know we will. So thank you very much for that. And I believe we have a card, and I think Satish wants to make a comment. Did you want to make a comment on this? Yeah, go ahead. You hit the button. Yep.
Mr. Mayor and the City Council, thank you for this opportunity. We are excited to bring this project to you. That building has been there for over 35, 40 years now in its present condition, and Mr. Baines and his partner, they are ready and willing to get this done as close as possible to the rendering. Just one item of observation, the recommendation says for the city manager to negotiate and execute the lease. There, on the report, page 2, under general items, general terms of the lease, the first bullet point, it says the new lease will take effect on the first day of the month after full execution of the agreement. But then the next line says that the lease itself, the rent for the lease would take effect after the completion certificate, the certificate of occupancy. So if I may request the council to bring this item back to the negotiation and say, could we make the dates consistent, that the lease would start from the date of the certificate of occupancy?
Madam City Manager, should we?
I don't think it needs to be, I think we can just add to the motion direction to staff to clarify those dates as part of the direction. I don't think there needs to be, it doesn't need to be sent back, but the council can approve it tonight with that additional direction.
Yeah. Okay, you got it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, so if there are no other questions, should we move both of the, Madam City Clerk, should we move both of them together, 3 and 5? Should I ask questions on number 5?
I believe you have to do it one at a time.
One at a time, okay. Okay, so I'll make a motion that I move item number 3 with the language change.
I'll second.
That was discussed by the city manager, so that there's no disruption in the timeline. Moved by Mayor Salinas, seconded by Council Member Syrup, and this time we do have to take a roll call vote, correct?
We'll try legislate.
Okay.
Right? So here we go. Okay, please let me know if you could see it. Okay. Councilmember Francisco Cermeño? Okay, I'll go ahead and help you with that, if you like. Okay, I'll do it for you, sir.
So it passes unanimously with 7 votes. Thank you. Okay. Next item is item number 5, and I believe Councilmember Bonilla wanted to pull that.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a quick question on these cameras that we're going to be purchasing. So I know that they're safety automated license plate readers, but Chief, can you maybe help us understand how these are used and when they're used? There was a situation recently where I think one of my colleagues had, not on the dais, but in a different environment, had an incident in Hayward, and then, you know, they were trying to figure out who did it to him and whatever. And I guess, how are these cameras used? Like, can we go back and pull, like, what cars come through what intersections? And, like, can you just talk to us a little bit about the value and the application of these cameras in the city?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank
you. License plate reader technology is, to simplify it, is the equivalent of taking a photograph of a vehicle and a license plate at a specific date and time. When vehicles are associated to criminal acts and we have a license plate, they get entered into a system that all law enforcement in California and across the country have access to. And what these cameras do is when vehicles come into or leave the city that have an alert attached to the license plate, that information and an image of the vehicle and the direction of travel are automatically transmitted to the communications center and to the officers in the field via the computers in their cars, alerting them that this vehicle is traveling in this direction, and allows, for, in many cases, an apprehension if officers are in the area. The other value that it provides is it's an incredible investigative tool. I think the staff report highlights a case where we had a homicide, and within minutes, we're able to learn that the vehicle was traveling over the San Mateo Bridge going westbound, and that led to the pretty quick recovery of evidence, including the vehicle itself, and ultimately the apprehension of our suspect. So it's been, especially in a day and age where human resources remain a challenge, kind of a game changer in terms of our ability to increase solvability rates.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And then just for the public's awareness, our Council Public Safety Committee will be kicking off next week, and these will be the type of issues that will be coming in front of that committee in the future as well. But with that, Mayor, I'm happy to move the item.
Moved by Councilmember Bonilla, seconded by Councilmember Goldstein, and
Mayor, I have a quick question.
Question by Councilmember Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Matthews, I was just curious around the data retention policy when it comes to license plate vehicle information for the vehicles that pass through. It sounds like only vehicles that have a record get flagged in the system, but are all the license plates collected, and if so, for how long?
So all license plates are collected. The license plate reader technology does not collect any demographic information. It doesn't collect any registered owner information. Officers need a legitimate reason to go into the system to get that. They have to do that independently unless the vehicle has been flagged as being involved in some kind of a criminal act or associated with a missing person, et cetera. The images are kept for a 30-day period, and then they are purged. If they're associated with an investigation, obviously we want to hang on to them until that process plays out through the court system.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, and I apologize, I didn't hit the button here, and I did see your name on there, but I didn't look. Okay, so moved by Councilmember Bonilla, seconded by Councilmember Syrup, or Goldstein, and if there are no objections, it will unanimously pass. Thank you.
Mayor Salinas, my apologies, but could we go ahead and do it via
do the vote?
iLegislate?
Okay, all right,
Okay.
so let's see, we do a vote.
And it's all 7.
And I believe it passes unanimously, 7 yeses.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. All right. Me, that there. Okay. Our next item is our work session, and this is item number 7. La Vista Park Project, review and discuss project revised scope, estimate, and budget. And I believe our Public Works Director, Alex Ameri, is going to kick this off.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, council members. Good evening. As council is aware, the city and Hayward Area Recreation Park District have been working towards a shared vision of constructing La Vista Park, a destination park in South Hayward. In February of last year, the design was approved and council called for bids. We received 3 bids, all between $42 million and $47 million, which were far more than the project's construction budget and even the expected bids, which could have been higher than construction. Working closely with HART and the city's project designer, Surface Design, we have developed a few alternatives to reduce the costs while maintaining the essential features of the park, and we would like to present them to council and get your feedback. I would like to add that Surface Design was also the project designer for the very well-received linear park project along Mission Boulevard in the Fairway Park neighborhood area. With that, I'll turn the presentation over to James Lord, a partner with Surface Design, to present the alternatives, and his associate, Tyler Jones Power, is also here to help with the presentation and answering any questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, City Council, Mr. Mayor. It is an honor to be up here again. It's been a while. My hair's grown. We've gone through COVID. I'm fat. And we have produced Mission Linear Boulevard Park. And through this whole process, working on that park alone has been an honor. Collaborating with everyone at the city, the staff, everybody, to be able to pull off that park for $7.50 a square foot. And for the notoriety that has gotten from Bloomberg and various things, I hope illustrates the commitment that you guys have given to your Parks and Rec and to your Public Works Department to do the right thing, and to mainly your citizens, because we've had wonderful collaborations with all groups on both these parks. So with that, I just wanted to thank you guys, because it's an example for the rest of the country, and it's gotten a lot of national notoriety. And so we were trying to do exactly the same thing for La Vista Park as well. But let me run through this presentation really quickly. This is the site plan that was approved by the City Council on HARD in 2018. So you can see I used to be skinny then. The park itself went all the way down and along Tennyson and then up to the development at the top. It incorporates some strategic stormwater management across the site, as well as stabilizing this bit of land for public use. So if you go to the next slide, this is the timeline and what we've been working through together, and some of those yellow things that there is a number underneath. I don't know if we can get rid of that. The initial project there was in April 2018 was approved. The budget was of $23 million. That's what that underneath that yellow. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, great. And then it was expanded at that time. The park originally, the original park was about 20 acres and then expanded to 48 or 47 acres when we first started the design. So you see it there. During the process, it was explained, we went through a large CEQA analysis. There was a wetland that was discovered on the site, and there are 2 major slips, and the Hayward Fault runs through this. So this is no easy piece of dirt to work with, but we love challenges, and we got there, and the big thing is a balance of cut and fill on the site at the time. At that time also, HARD brought on a bike terrain park as well. So that was all incorporated into the design. It did go out after, as you can see that chart at the top there, is the construction prices that when we started 2018 and where they are right now, which is significantly more. So that's sort of the dilemma that we're at. But again, one more challenge. We're there for you guys. We're going to make it happen. So we looked, repenciled everything, looked at where all the costs were coming in from those bids that we received. We used those numbers, so we were getting more realistic numbers to actually program and get the elements of the park right. You can see that third image on the bottom there of the original park. There is the biggest expense really was the keyway, which is in the red, and then we needed another keyway, upper keyway up there. We were able to reduce the scope and avoid one of the slips, and that by doing that basically saved a significant amount of money, and we incorporated the keyway, which is basically, to describe it, sort of like putting your hand at the bottom of a hill to stop it from sliding down. And so in conjunction with that, and also for P3, as you can see over time, the development down below with the school was not originally there, but now it came on. So we wanted to make sure that we were working with those neighbors and the geotechnical from their team to make sure that we were creating a safe environment. So with that in hand, we then looked at balancing the cut and fill to make sure that we did not pay extra money for sending dirt off-site, and got to this balance. When we worked with HARD, their dirt terrain park moved to the upper corner there. You can see that right there. And from the original design, as you saw previously, there was a dog park and some parking down there. We have incorporated that dog park back into the new design as well, so we're not losing that. And then because of the layout of the various slips that are on the property, that was an excellent corner to make sure that we could continue to provide HARD with the bike terrain park. So that's why it ended over there. It is all connected by the foothill trail. I know we can keep going through this a bit more, bigger pictures. As well as getting older, I need bigger pictures to look at. So this is the park as it was before, and you can see the layout there. What has been removed is the switchback road connection in the north. We still have the connections to the properties to the north that we need to maintain. All the sort of grading that was done in the areas that had the slips was basically we're working with the existing grades and tying into those. So there was no sort of need for working in those areas, which then reduced the keyways that we were talking about. You also have the neighborhood park, as I mentioned, has been moved uphill with the larger park itself. We got flatter areas for people to recreate on from the previous scheme. If you can see that triangle there compared to where it was, the big lookout hill. And we have the parking area was reduced, so that again, part of the cost, but we still met the parking requirement that was in the original CEQA. So I think we've been really good at being very frugal, but also thinking about costs and bringing numbers down. So as you can see, the bid for the full park at that time was about 44 million. And through all these moves, we've got it down to 23, which is on budget for phase 1 of the park. So we're on budget now. There are elements that had to be removed that I want to show you now. These are this is basically a bigger blow up as well. So the big things that we had to make sure that we took care of is that keyway, that red zone at the bottom, and that we accommodated the bioretention basin and the detention basin for the stormwater. So those are two critical elements of infrastructure that we had to meet. So just click that off. You can start to see that little box with the yellow over. It explains the construction budget of 17 million. Fantastic work by the staff to raise 369,100,000 for trees. So we can get the grading, we can get the trees, everything is in there from phase 1. And then if we have the money from HARD for the bike park there, it's another $1 million that was added in. So we're doing okay right now. The issue that we're looking at is the next phase 2. So here's the total, so pretty much. And now we're at $11 a square foot, which is sort of incredible as well, because usually parks cost about 60 to 50 a square foot. So we're still working pretty well, and we're excited about that number. Keep going. So these are the two elements we really want to talk to you about a bit more. The first is phase 2. So so before, what we have is basically setting the table and getting everything ready, and now this phase 2 is layering the dinner on top. So we have paving, play equipment, site furniture, the sod for the play fields, trellises, pedestrian lights, new restrooms. Those are Exelo restrooms, so they're self-cleaning, and a maintenance shed. So that additional, that comes to about $5 million. That will get you basically with the park that you're seeing on the screen, with all the parking and everything. And we feel quite confident and that nothing will feel empty or missing on that. To get the deal a little bit more, with the add alternates for phase 2, there's additional furniture. We have slides integrated within the earth forms, more planting, and then construct a science garden for children to understand stormwater management and science play, and then also install a specially treated paving. So right now in the original base, we have asphalt as the path paving networks, and if we do this add alternate, we can turn that into park pave, which is a material that is the same level and of asphalt, but it gives a better look and feel. It's like sort of a earthy color rather than the black asphalt. And that would be for that little list is another 4.8 million that we're looking for. So this is sort of where we are right now. I don't know if there's another slide. This gives you a summary of each one of those dollar amounts to give you the totals to think about what you need to progress. And thank you. I know this is a working session, so if there's council questions or comments and discussions, we're here for you, as usual.
Thank you. Mr. Mary, anything else?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect.
And I
So-
would just, can I just
Yeah.
add, sorry,
Mhm,
Mayor, I
mhm.
just wanted to add, I think we talked about the additional costs for Phase 2. There is, in the staff report, an outline of the different funding sources. And I think one of the questions staff has this evening, HARD has contributed a significant amount from their bond funds and future impact fees devoted to this project. So I think we're curious if the council is interested in potentially allocating some of the one-time Measure C dollars towards Phase 2 and potentially the Phase 2 ad alternates as sort of a discussion point and decision point this evening.
And that's the 5.2 million, correct?
The 5.2 and the 4.8, so that is the almost $10 million. So you could, it could be one or both or neither if the council so chooses. So.
Okay, so let me open up for public comment first, and then I'll come back up here to the dais. Our first public comment is from Mimi Bauer.
Try again. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this project. Some, if not all of the money that is being earmarked for the La Vista Regional Park, both the cities and HARD's, was garnered for the area and not specifically for La Vista. It can be used for parks in the area as well. The Fairway Park communities have been strong advocates for nearly 30 years, working together with the City Council and staff towards elevating the quality of life in Hayward. We have been instrumental in promoting Measure C, the downtown library, the Kmart property, the improvements along Mission Boulevard, including the Eden Housing Project, inclusion of affordable housing in the market rate development projects, and the La Vista project. We were the initiators of the Neighborhood Partnership Program and the pilot for Access Hayward. We have worked exhaustively for the betterment of all of Hayward for over a quarter of a century, ensuring that all the new developments we reviewed were of superior quality and that they had a neighborhood park. We have been champions of the city's sustainability goals. As the city and HARD know, our communities were developed without neighborhood parks. We have been asking for this to be remedied for decades. It is now 70 years since most of our communities have been without what we have made sure new communities have. It has been 8 years since HARD's Measure F1 was passed, which has 2 neighborhood parks planned for our communities, one on each side of Mission Boulevard, so that our communities will finally be able to enjoy what we have worked so hard to make sure every other community in Hayward can enjoy. We are not asking you to drop the La Vista Park. We have supported it. And we want you to make sure that the reserve development that is adjacent to this gets their neighborhood park without delay. However, we are pleading with you to exercise decency, fairness, and justice towards the Fairway Park communities. Fully fund and build the 2 parks that they have been waiting for 70 years. Before you spend a penny or stick a shovel in the ground for the regional La Vista Park. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Al Mendel.
Hello, Al Mendel, former council member, South Hayward resident. I want to give a little historical context for this park. It goes back a little more than 20 years. Around 2002, 2003, the city annexed a bunch of county land, the Mission-Guerin annexation. Some of you remember, some of you probably not. It was before my time on council. We upzoned a lot of the properties, added 500 to 1,000 unit potential, and eventually built the La Vista neighborhood. They were promised a 3 to 5 acre park as part of that. That park is not yet built. In 2005, the council upzoned all of the properties around South Hayward BART, from the BART tracks to Mission, added approximately 3,000 or so, maybe more, units of potential development, none of which will have backyards, none of which will have balconies. There is no place for kids to play on those properties. They need public parks for that. Now, we built Sohay, and there's a park there, but we eliminated a park to build Sohay 2. -1, +1, not progress, right? In around 2012-13, we did the Mission-Guerin form-based codes rezoning and massively upzoned hundreds of properties along Mission Boulevard, turned a commercial zone into a mostly residential zoning, and allowed up to 5 stories of density. And at the time, we said, look, this is going to be apartments, no backyards, no balconies. We need to figure out a way to provide a place for families and kids to play. That is what this park is, smack dab in the middle of the South Hayward BART area. And those of you who've been on the Planning Commission or the City Council for the last number of years, you know how many times staff has come forward and reminded us, yes, this project at True Life, at Sohay, at, all the ones along Mission Boulevard with 500, units, 1,000 units. Yes, there's no park, or it's just a tiny little pocket park. But this is coming. La Vista Park is coming. And that's where all of those people in those thousands and thousands and thousands of units are going to go to walk their dog, to let their kids play, to play soccer, to play basketball, if we finish it. That's where they're going to go. That was the promise. And there were a lot of people who heard that promise from us and believed it. And when we said, yes, we're voting on this development, high density around South Hayward BART, because that makes sense, no park. But we promise we're going to build this. And when we originally put the plan together, it was supposed to be done 4 years ago, supposed to be done in 2020. Maybe that was a little optimistic, but we're 4 years past that and we haven't started yet. It's time to keep this promise and build the thing. We have a lot of money from the city, park and lieu fee money, that is city money. The city bought the land and is providing the land for free, and HARD is chipping in a lot of F1 money. It's a nice partnership. We're both providing money. So take it and build it before phase 1 becomes phase 0.5, because inflation is just going to keep shrinking this and shrinking this and shrinking this if you take too long to build it. I beg you, keep the promise we've been making for the last 20 years to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosen, our HARD partner, President Rosen.
Now it's red. Okay, thanks. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address the mayor, city council, and staff. I'm here to give some support towards prioritizing the park elements for La Vista Park. I recognize and understand that the original design of the park exceeded the budget that is available, and I appreciate some of the adjustments that staff is proposing to make La Vista more affordable. I want to thank you for reducing the work area, shortening the keyways, reducing the grading to keep soil on site, and adjusting some of the material changes. However, I'm here to encourage you to return the lower neighborhood park into the first phase. The neighbors that have been there for almost 20 years have been expecting a park, and as we've heard, there are some primary park features that they're expecting. You know, the basketball courts and picnic tables, those are things that are essential to happen in a community, not just open space. Open space We have a lot of East Bay Regional Park District land, but a lot of what we need for recreational space takes more development. I want to also encourage you to consider the fact that this is going to be a regional park as proposed, and as such, it's not just for the neighborhood. So if you're expecting it to be a regional park, there needs to be some additional overflow parking, not just what's on there. Even if it's gravel as extra overflow, there needs to be some consideration for people that are going to come there, if that's what the expectation is. That's pretty much where I am, and I wanted to thank you for your time, and I look forward to this happening. I was hearing about it long before I was on the board, back when I was on the Bond Oversight Committee, or back when I was on the Citizens Advisory Committee, and it would be nice to get it going. So thanks.
Thank you. And of course, someone who is no stranger to the building, our HARD director, or one of our HARD directors, but also former city council member, Sarah Lamnin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. It's always a joy to be in this room. So, as you pointed out, I have a unique position, which is I've sat on both sides of this conversation. And unfortunately, they don't match. The collaboration here is not meeting its impact. The impact is not meeting its intent. I know we want to work together. We've done tremendous strides, even from the 5 years ago. I remember those meetings. There was challenges with them. HARD is a different agency than it was 5 years ago. There are 6 different elected members on those boards. And rather than try and figure out, should we put this, should we not put that, that needs to be a collaborative conversation. So I ask you tonight, make a decision about, or not decision, it's a work session. Give direction about the Measure C money, that is your money. Make that conversation. But in terms of what should be in the park and how do we fulfill that promise, how do we bring together the vision that Al had, that we had, how do we make sure we deliver on the promises to this community? We've got to do that together. Because HARD's gonna have to maintain this. And so having a discussion about what should be there and what shouldn't be there without the people that are gonna have to maintain it, without the people who have the professional expertise, no offense to the consultant, but in terms of the park, HARD has delivered on time, on budget projects. And this needs to be collaborative with the consultant, with the city, with HARD. And so I ask that we, instead of making those decisions about priorities for the park, tonight you focus your direction around the city money, and let us have a genuine joint session where we can really work this out together and move forward quickly but strongly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any more public comments. I wanted to come back up to the dais. Before I ask council for questions, Mr. Mary, do you have any other questions, or should I just go straight to questions here? No?
Just questions and comments.
Okay. So
just sorry, one other. Staff is planning after the conversation this evening to go to the HARD board and make a presentation, hopefully on April 1st, to share the feedback from the council work session tonight, and then also to get feedback from the HARD board on I think exactly what Director Lamnin was sharing her concerns with this evening.
Okay, yeah, you know, as one, I just appreciated Director Lamnin's comments, you know, and as she was talking, I couldn't help but to reflect on our the joint meeting we just had the other day between HARD and the city, and perhaps that might have been a lost opportunity for us to really sit and have a substantive conversation about something that, you know, we could have resolved there and then brought to here. And anyways, we can do better next time. So I agree. The other comment before I call on Councilmember Zermeño is I first wanted to acknowledge, of course, former City Council member Al Mendel, who in his excellent, very succinct history of this project, and also the dean of Fairway Park, Mimi Bauer, who clearly understands the history of this area and of this neighborhood. I don't think anyone up here is going to back away from a promise that has been made to the entire, not only the Fairway Park neighborhood, but the entire South Hayward neighborhood. And I know, not to put words in my colleague's mouth, this is something that not only this project is important for all of us, but this is something that we've all been talking about and been working on for a very long time. So if there's any concern of us backtracking on any of this, I don't think that would be a big concern. And I know the architects are committed to this, and I know our public works director is certainly committed to this. So I just wanted to sort of put that into context before we go to questions here. So Councilmember Zermeño, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions and comments, correct?
Yes, you can do both.
All right. I like the original plan from 2018. That's what I really want. Second, I don't know what a keyway is. Could you explain that for me?
I'm not exactly an engineer, but I'm a son of an engineer, so maybe I can help describe it. What it is basically the slope, the soil that's above, there's two slips. So one of those slips we're removing. So like when a dirt is in an earthquake, it potentially could slip. So to avoid that, you build like a wall, per se, underground that is made up of cement and different kinds of things to stabilize that slip from falling down or slipping. So that's really what it is.
Right,
It's like an underground dam.
Right. I have another question for you while you're up there.
Sure.
If I'm going to bicycle over to the park, can I go into the park at the lower section of the park, or do I have to go all the way up to the entry of the cars?
Right now, there's, as you can see there, there's two entrances right now. The one at the bottom there.
Okay,
and then the one at the top.
All right. So okay. Thank you. Those are my questions. And questions for City Manager. How close or how possible would it be for us to fund the money that is needed out of Measure C funds? In my mind, this is something that is right there.
The funds are available. Obviously, that's a prioritization decision for the council. I think we've got that funding that we could, do up to the $10 million. I think. Okay. I would suggest if, those are part of, those phase 2 add alternates, we could include them as sort of alternate and decide which of those features could be included depending on the cost that comes back. So yes, I think, that money is available in Measure C if the council chooses to do that.
All right. Mr. Amiri, do I see less trees in the most up-to-date
No,
plan?
sir, there are 1,400 trees on the park.
Okay,
planned
so it's
for
just
the
my
park.
imagination. I thought I saw less trees in the final rendering. Okay, good.
There
All
are
right.
1,400.
We want. Are they natural trees, or are we planting any new trees? Are we planting any new trees? 1,000.
They're all new trees. Yes, new natives, by the way.
All right.
Yes.
Native. Okay, good. And I do agree with Madam Bauer about hopefully finding some funds or doing something about parks that were promised in that particular area, south Hayward. So let's see if we can work with, when we have another meeting, or even before we have another meeting with HARD, to work on those parks there. I've seen a couple, and they can use some work, as we discussed 2 weeks ago. I also agree with my former colleague, Mendel. This is something that we promised back in 2018. I think that the closest we come to the original plan, the better it is. And in my mind, that includes basketball courts, picnic tables, and quite a few other things. A lot of space for maybe a pickup soccer game, frisbee, whatever it may be, frisbee golf, etc. And of course, I do agree with former colleague also Lamnin that amenities in this park need to be discussed between both HARD and us. I think that's very, very important. And maybe there are a couple other things that we can add. I don't know. Oh, one more question for you. There's a real nice photo there of people walking on brown sand.
Yeah, here. So this is what I was talking about with the
Okay.
it's a different kind of alternative pavement. So it's not asphalt. It's called park pave.
Okay.
It's permeable and it layers into the landscape like naturally, not black.
Much better than pavement, than the ugly pavement. So thank you very much. There will be no ugly chain link fences anywhere, right?
No more
Okay,
chain
that-
link. No.
okay.
I
Okay.
won't let that happen.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I like you. And I think that this park is something very important for the community, not just necessarily the Tennyson corridor, but also South Hayward. It is within walking distance of South Hayward BART. You can bicycle over and then bicycle over to the park. And at the same time, let's not forget that we do have a couple other parks in that area. I'm very proud of the fact that every Hayward resident is within a 10-minute walk of a park in the city of Hayward. That's very, very good. And this park is going to be tremendous. And there's another reason, another personal reason I like it. It reminds me of Isla Vista, where I lived back at UCSB. So La Vista Park, all the way. The original plan is what I want. And we can come up with the money. That's my personal preference. Mr. Mary, you have anything for me?
No, I just wanted to mention that the average cost of the park was about $45 million last time when we went to bid. With the increase in construction cost index, that number would be closer to $50 million.
Right.
However, the offsetting measure is that we have reduced the length of the keyway. The keyway alone was a $16
I saw
million
that.
portion.
Yeah.
So with that reduction, we would be in the neighborhood of low 40 million, I would say.
But we lost 10 acres. That's a loss.
Right.
Okay, all right. So, but that I will be pushing for a full-fledged park. And Measure C, hopefully we can do that in the future. Thank you.
Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's so great having the knowledge in the audience with our public comment, because it does raise a lot of questions. So I appreciate everyone being here for that. Being a Fairway Park resident, I can't help but appreciate Mimi's comments, Ms. Bauer's comments. And so I guess I have questions about the budget first. So there's money, there was 23.27 million set aside, right, for appropriated for the park, is that right? And so is that money already earmarked, and is that already sitting there for this project? We're not going to go back and try to look at those funds.
Yes, that money is dedicated to that park.
And then from the money that we have, that HARD has designated for the park, that's the 16 million, is that right?
It's part, yes, it's part of, I think I don't know if it's all broken down on the slide, but it's.
Okay.
Yes, that original 18, that includes HARD's contribution, it includes the park impact fees, it includes the developer's contribution.
Okay, and I mean, I think just to the point of sort of spreading the wealth around the community, there was the comment that this was a promise made to this part of the neighborhood with all the new housing coming on. But it's true that in Fairway Park, I don't think we're in 10 minutes of a walking of a park, because we haven't had one. It's sort of a landlocked area with no park. Maybe the Twin Bridges Park is available. And so I know it's a different discussion, and so maybe this is a sort of just call it to heart that Bidwell Park is something that's been needed for that entirety of that neighborhood. And while I understand these funds are already earmarked, is there will we participate in that, or is that a pure HARD question at this point?
I believe that is purely a HARD question, but I mean, again, future park impact fees could be devoted to Bidwell, and the other park, which I believe is El Rancho, is the other park that Ms. Bauer was referring to.
Okay, so I guess that's my plea to HARD is, I know that the plans have already started. I mean, some of the conceptualizations of those parks have begun, but I agree, like while we're making promises and all these neighborhoods for People's Park, that's definitely one that is included in this. And I agree, I thank you, former Councilman Mendel, that, sort of reminding me that the history of all of this housing that we've approved along Mission Boulevard, people need somewhere to go. And the number one in my mind is the La Vista project that the 176 unit affordable housing. I was on Planning Commission when we approved that, and it was approved in contemplation with this park being there. So we didn't include a tot lot or anything like that. It was, they were gonna have this awesome access to this park right there. And so I am in agreement with Director, are you guys directors? Yeah, Director Rosen, that it was one of my concerns when I saw it. That was a specific question I emailed to staff today, to eliminate the lower neighborhood park that contained the basketball court and picnics, because I think of families and kids coming out of this complex and having direct access to that kind of play. And I was gonna ask you, is there a path contemplated from this development up into the park in different ways? Because it looks like they'd have to cross over the key. Do you cross over Keyway, or is that all underground? It's all okay. And are there paths that go from that go from there? Okay. So I guess kind of going back to Director Landman's comment that I can see why we don't necessarily, we can give our input on the park, but I do trust our park district to be experts in where these things should be and how kids and families access these kind of amenities in the park. So I would appreciate that we sort of allocate, we agreed to this reduced size, we agreed to the funding that we want to agree to today, but I believe it is hard, our park experts that need to tell us where kids access play areas, where people are going to access the park, and how this equipment should be allocated. And so I would encourage you to make sure that we're sort of playing to all of our strengths here, and that we defer to our experts on those things. And again, like I said, I sort of agree that I'm concerned about where the play area is, because if this housing complex was supposed to be a family facility, and 176 units, there could be a lot of kids. They don't necessarily need to be going all the way up the hill if their parents are trying to keep them nearby. I think it's important that there's some play space nearby for them. So I would ask you to continue to work with HARD on their expertise on that. Let's see. As far as the funding, I guess I would, I guess it's hard, it's so much money, right? The first set of phase 2, the $5 million, in order to get the paths in, I'm going back to my slides here, hold on one second. Sorry, so the first set of phase 2, that's the $5.2 million. I would be interested in us looking at Measure C funds for that, because that sort of sets, to me, that allows people to go up there, access the park. I think that it'll allow a stroller to go over more easily in some of these paths, a bike, I guess, to get to the other bike area. And then the add-in alternatives, is it true that if we do the phase 2 stuff, that allows us to then add the other stuff later, because that's more equipment that's added later, is that right? So those are kind of awesome things, bells and whistles. Construct the science garden, that sounds like a funding opportunity out there, grant opportunity out there somewhere in the future. I'm sure there are organizations that would be happy to fund that in the future. So for now, I think I'd be looking at the phase 1 plan as proposed by staff, and I'm open to hear what my colleagues say about the $5.2 million for the phase 2 option. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question for the developer designer. Will the playground have pour-in-place surfacing, rubber surfacing, or would it have mulch?
We have it as a playground mulch now.
It's playground mulch? Okay,
Yeah.
so you're already cutting costs there, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do have a portion that is the poured-in-place rubberized surface.
Just where the structure is?
Yeah, where the main play structure and one of the set of slides.
Okay. The only reason why I'm not trying to discuss too many elements hard, obviously leave that to you, but just was curious about grant opportunities for play structures. I know that Kaboom is a really popular nonprofit that builds play structures around the country. Just wanted to see if there were some opportunities there to work with organizations like that if we were to move forward on parts of phase 2 quicker, sooner than later, and if it can be incorporated with phase 1. So just wanted to think about that potentially. As far as phase 1, I agree that you definitely it seems like you cut a lot, and the dog park is something that I would love to see stay. we actually have a lot of residents that come to us now regarding dog parks, so just wanted to highlight that. I do agree with Ms. Bauer regarding the other playgrounds and wanted to know, I know we can't discuss too much tonight, but when we do meet next time, is that something that we can review, just the list of, just go back and look at the CIP list and revisit what's happening with those parks, if we can look at the dates of those parks, just so we can communicate to groups who are interested, particularly with Bidwell, because Bidwell is a location that is starting to see activity there because of lack of movement and progress. Yes, yes. I know we had our work session, but just so we can bring it back.
So Peter Rosen again from the Hardboard. The CIP and a lot of that is actually online. If you go to our website and look up Hard at Work, you have an interactive map and you can click on these things and you could find out Rancho Verde and you could find out about Bidwell. Bidwell's going to have a community center and a lot of play structures and a lot of things involved that answer, I think, a lot of that.
Yeah, that answers a lot, but I'm trying to show that these are the projects that are in South Hayward, and we're trying to balance what is happening with those other two parks before we look at this park, and so we can review that during that session.
They also have timelines and stuff associated with them too.
Yeah.
So that might help, part of that.
Okay, all right. And then I do agree with the phase 2 elements. I think it would be really hard to do a phase 1 project without picnic tables and benches and trash receptacles. So I do feel like some of that I don't think you can actually separate from phase 1. But am curious to see if we go back to this next meeting, is there a possibility we can revisit looking at how much those items cost and incorporate it back into phase 1? I don't know if that's possible.
Well, I think if the council is interested in having staff, bid those elements, we could. I mean, I think what the recommendation, I'm looking at staff, public works staff, is that we would bid it with phase 1 and phase 2, and then have, like the add alternates would be, an alternate to the original bid package. And so what that means is we're not obligated to do those elements, and depending on the cost that comes in. So we could make any of the elements an add alternate, so that it would not be a required element. But I think what is proposed here is what staff recommends as kind of what should be definitely included in a bid package, and then what could be bid as an alternate, just in case there's room in the budget.
Okay. All right. So I'm in agreement that Measure C funds should go towards this park. It's something that the community was expecting, and we did make an agreement with the city of adding all this affordable housing, a lot of housing on mission. We've been getting a lot of comments about housing on mission. So we do need to provide more amenities, and this would provide it. But I do agree with Ms. Bauer that we should revisit those parks. And if we can look at that, that would be great. And hopefully, Ms. Bauer, we can work with HART to see how we can expedite those parks as well. This I see as a separate project, and we do have this promise to the community, but I do think it is pretty urgent that we look at, especially Bidwell and El Rancho, those parks. I'm looking forward to seeing those moving. Director Lamb has something to say.
So Director Lamnin is going to respond to what you're saying. Okay.
Just because it might be helpful to know. So this is from the site that Peter mentioned, or President Rosen mentioned, and so the park project is currently in design. Bidwell is currently in design development and is anticipated to be completed in the summer of 2026.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Syra.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, just jotting down some last notes. Just some points of clarification before I go into my comments. So, Ms. Bauer, were you referencing Bidwell Park or El Rancho Verde Park? Both parks, understood. And were you aware of those design timelines, the summer 26 completion? And then for El Rancho, I'm wondering if someone from HARD might be able to share with me where that is on the timeline. Sorry, I'm asking when El Rancho is set up on the timeline. Did they share that with you?
El Rancho's timeline is frozen because they were able to get a little bit more property that could possibly change the design.
Okay, understood.
So yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that before I started talking about La Vista. Thank you. Yeah. Great. Okay, so as far as this part goes, Mr. Mendel, I appreciate the history lesson. That was really informative to understand the context with which this was brought online. I'm in support of Phase 1 and Phase 2 together. I hear Director Rosen. I think these are the elements that make a park. So we don't want to just build an open space. We want to build a place that people it's a destination that people are coming to. I have a little hesitation around adding more parking. I think when we build infrastructure for cars, we encourage more cars. I'm not naive that more cars still may come, but as people realize what kind of park this is and there's less parking, I believe it'll end up servicing locals more than far away visitors and make this more of a walkable, BARTable, bikeable destination, which to me advances our climate goals. I'd like to hear when this goes before HARD, the staff's opinion on the parking situation, given that HARD will be helping maintain the park, but that's where I stand. I just want to share that feedback. I do think that I want to limit what we're giving to this park to Phase 1 and Phase 2, at least as we put this bid out. If we have an additional $4.8 million and we're hearing about parks like Bidwell or El Rancho Verde, it makes me wonder if we're able to collaborate with HARD and accelerate other projects if there's close to $5 million sitting there for potential park renovations. So my request to staff would be maybe a follow-up email to the council to help us understand how we might be able to deploy this Measure C funding to accelerate park improvements in collaboration with HARD. To Director Lamnan's point, I think my suggestion for Phase 1 and Phase 2 together here isn't a prescription that all these features have to be in here, but a suggestion that these are features that I personally think would make the park function well, and I am very open to HARD staff input on this too. It's really just about opening up that level of funding and saying these are the type or the classification of amenities that we're expecting for our residents. You're the experts here, and I trust your staff's perspective on this. I agree with Councilmember Roach that a basketball court, in the absence of it, feels significant here. I'm wondering if there's a way to incorporate this back into the park. Please come to the microphone so the public can, yeah.
Just to clarify for Councilmember Andrews as well, can someone point to, the dog park has been incorporated into the park, so we have dog, because I totally agree, Rover needs a spot too. Also, the basketball courts, we included 2 up there. So,
okay.
So we basically, with what the new squeezed-in footprint, we tried to take all the stuff that was pushed out and put into that footprint. So it's all there.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Because when I was reading the initial staff report, I was a little worried. The park I grew up around, kids would walk half a mile, and it was the most active part of the park was that basketball court. So, kids and adults, yeah. I'm curious, in the way that this is being designed, are we making room to incorporate future upgrades? So, one of the previous iterations, looked like there's some type of amphitheater near the bottom, or was I mistaking that? And are we preparing this land for future upgrades?
Yeah, the amphitheater's still there.
Okay.
It's all there. There is room if you want to expand.
Sorry, the illustration confused me. So I understand that's the amphitheater. Go ahead, sure. On the bottom side of the, I'm not sure which slide this is. Maybe we can go back a few slides.
Just circle the amphitheater. There we go.
I see that. Can we go back to the original plan?
Go back.
Yeah. So on the left side, in the middle, on the western portion of it, can you describe what that feature is?
Oh, that's the bike train park.
Oh, understood. Okay.
And that was what got moved to the stable land where the dog park and that one basketball was.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
That's what that is. So we got that covered.
Great, thank you. Okay, so that concern's gone. And then I noticed that there's a non-auto restroom in Phase 1 and then auto restrooms in Phase 2. Would that be an upgrade to the non-auto restroom? I see. And so with just going straight for the auto restroom, are there cost savings involved with that?
Yes.
Okay, and how many are we anticipating for the park?
Stalls we have two blocks.
Can you come up to the microphone? Because, we're recording for the public record, so we just need for you
I'm
to.
only good for a certain amount of detail.
It's all right.
There are two areas that we're looking for toilet blocks. One by the tot lot, by the playgrounds, and then another one by the sports fields.
Yep.
And so I believe in the first phase one, we've got a fixed one that is by the sports field.
Mhm.
And that if you go a phase two, all of phase two, you get two mechanized bathroom blocks.
Okay.
How many stalls are in each one, Ty?
One is 4 stalls, one is 2 stalls.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I think those are most of my comments. Really appreciate all of the work that's gone into this on the Planning Commission and by the council members before my time and the folks on the council currently that helped contribute to this project. And this has been a long time coming. So just to reiterate my own direction, I would say phase one and phase two together, I'm very comfortable with bidding that forward, using Measure C funds for those dollars, and exploring ways we could use the 4.8 we were thinking about for alternates, for maybe supporting other parks in collaboration with HARD to accelerate their development. Thank you.
Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Very excited to see this project move forward, and I'm really happy that it's in front of us tonight. I think it's long overdue, as we heard from Councilmember Mendel. I think we were expecting to enjoy this, about 4 years ago. So whatever we can do to get this moving as quickly as possible, I think, is the right decision, especially as we made these promises to our communities and to families and to kids to have a vibrant park to play in. I think it's time that we deliver on that promise. So, I'm fine with phase one and phase two, but I really want us to look at how we return that lower neighborhood park. I know why we moved it, I get the justification, but that seems like such a gem and a sweet spot that we're moving and we're altering. So I would really like to see a collaboration with HARD to see how we design to get that lower park put back into phase one or phase two. But I'm very supportive of what's in both of these phases, except for that lower park. Of course, I'm a little disappointed in the reduction in the park size, but I certainly understand, we need to make some progress here, because if we continue to want the Taj Mahal in terms of this park, we're never going to get the funding we need to make the progress that we're here tonight discussing. So I very much look forward to, and very supportive of using Measure C funds for the additional $5.2 million. And if there's additional expenses to bring that lower park back in, I would be interested in including that in this phase one and phase two. Outside of that, like I said, very excited to move this forward, and I'm supportive of using Measure C funds to do that. Thank you.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, right? I was on Planning Commission for 7 years, and I think every year we had a discussion about it. And, it's an exciting project. And everyone I talk to in that part of town is excited about it, and people on this side of town are excited about it. It's a fantastic project. I think it'll be a great draw and also a wonderful amenity for everyone around the city. And, the parks here in Hayward are one of the things that I absolutely love, and one of the first things that I talk about, one of the first. And anyway, I just can't say enough about how great our parks work. And so I would definitely want to see us collaborating with the Park District in how we build out the parks. So, definitely following along with what Sarah Lemnon and Peter Rosen have said. And those sentiments have also been echoed by others within the Park District. They want to be included in the conversation, and I see them as our local park experts. And I don't mean that as a ding against anyone in Alex Amiri's staff. We have wonderful staff, very thoughtful, but still, our Park District, they're our experts. And so I want to see that collaboratively. I also agree with Mimi Bauer. The folks on the west side of Mission Boulevard are kind of living with an absence of park space. You just go on the east side of that, and there's some park space. There's also county parks, East Bay Regional Parks, but it's not the same thing. They feel like they're, when I lived on that side of Mission, I felt like I was driving into somebody else's neighborhood to kind of use their park. Not that anybody ever cared, but that's kind of the mindset. and they do deserve to have the parks. And so I definitely want to see some collaboration to see the development of El Rancho and also of Bidwell. And I am in favor of using Measure C funds to see all of this happening. I also think the lower park should be built. I don't think we can gloss over that. We made that as a promise to the developers and the property owners and residents in that area that was something that would happen, and I think we should follow through on that. I'm not in favor of spending money wildly, but we made some commitments, and I think we need to live up to it. Thank you.
And I was just notified that Councilmember Roach has a second bite at the apple.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, before, as this discussion goes forward to hard after this, it was mentioned what a difficult site this is to build on and why some of the infrastructure is so important. How are we contemplating ongoing maintenance? Because it's obviously going to be much more significant to maintain, the confidence in the structure, I guess the keyway. How do we budget for that going forward? Because again, obviously more important than your average park maintenance fee. And who can I ask about that? Alex? Or sorry, Director O'Meary.
Basically, we'll have a conversation with Hart about the maintenance and see what the challenges are, and we'll work with them.
And and so I guess that will be an ongoing discussion. We'll hear
Correct.
more. Okay, so before we get to voting on anything in the future, we'll have some answers on that.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. And then the other question I had for the design is, which I assume is part of the phasing here, is there anything like, for example, the slides, will this infrastructure be part of the grading and everything so that if we find money or grants or something in the future for these alternative add-ins that we have the basis for it?
Yes, they're all basically ready to just give the button and
Okay.
they can put them in.
Okay.
So, and we've strategized even on that as well. And to your maintenance, this park is different from most parks. It's a naturalistic park, so the maintenance, the majority of it has been accounted for.
Okay.
For very low.
Okay.
To know.
And what about on the path stuff, so asphalt as opposed to the other stuff, the...
Park pave.
Thank you. Yeah. If we went with just phase one and we did the asphalt, I assume then there would be a cost involved in taking out the asphalt to put in the other basis. No. Okay.
Not necessarily. We could use, if we want to think about it in those terms, you can use that as a base course.
Okay.
And then you put the park pave over the top.
On top of it.
So we can go that route too if you decide.
Okay. So if it goes out to bid and that's just something
That could be an add alternate.
So that could be add-on without too much. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, before I make my comments, I wanted to ask the city manager. I know you said, much of this is predicated on money, right? I mean, that's really at the end of the day. And there's $10 million, and I just added here, right here, we have $10 million, correct? We can go up to 10.
Up to 10,
Yeah.
I think, is the additional ask that we would need.
Yeah.
And I think, one option could be to make all of those to add alternates to the initial bid, and then we can, work with HARD to figure out which of those features are the most important, depending on how the bids come back.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. Bless you. Okay, so first of all, I concur with all of the wonderful words that have said about all the speakers, and I appreciate you coming out. As I was looking at this, over the weekend, I was going back and I was trying to recall just some of the conversations we had up here on the dais about the park, right? And this was, it might have even been said, I might have even said it up here when I said that this was going to be, and I know Councilmember Roach said it, but this was going to be the crown jewel of our city, and I know that this is something that we have been talking about, and I think the historical context was, we built a lot of the housing based on the fact that we were going to have this wonderful, we built a 100% affordable development with a school, with the idea that it was going to be seamless to the park. I mean, that was like, you know, we visioned it, we planned it, and, you know, and we're building it. I mean, you know, at the development part. And so, you know, historically, this has been a priority, and historically, it has checked all the boxes: housing, equity, recreation. I mean, it had you know, all of the things that we've been prioritizing and talking about up here. And so, you know, I want, you know, the speakers to know that this is something that has been, you know, at least on my mind, and I know on my colleagues. I also want to just say, because, you know, I wrote here, you know, recreation, parks, and I know, you know, I'm sitting in the room with 2 former council members, you know, parks also equal economic development. I mean, I was at, on Sunday or Saturday, I was at Buffalo Bills and having lunch, it was Sunday, having lunch there at Buffalo Bills, and there was a group of cyclists, there must have been about 15 cyclists, you know, sitting at Buffalo Bills eating and, you know, and hanging out, and I can only imagine that they were riding through Hayward, you know, and so clearly they stopped in Hayward, ate, and, you know, and engage in our businesses. So clearly there is a direct correlation between recreation and economic development and other aspects of our city. So, you know, that is certainly something that we've been talking about up here. And just to reemphasize, when we originally approved this plan and when we started to develop this, you know, it really was supposed to be, and we intend it to be, a crown jewel. This is a major piece of property along the hill, and I don't want us to, you know, I don't want us to let go of that. What I'm hearing up here is, of course, you know, phase 1 and phase 2, everyone is supporting that. Everyone is also supporting using Measure C funding to do this. I heard Councilmember Goldstein about, you know, not going too wild with money and spending. I get it, and so forth. But I also want all of us up here to be very mindful, and I appreciated the words by Councilmember Cermeño, around, you know, what we expect and what we deserve here in the city. And I think something that I have certainly been saying up here, and I know I've heard others say it around here, is, you know, we absolutely deserve the best. We absolutely deserve a first-class, first-rate park. And, you know, and I think there's, you know, you know, and to be so bold and say this is, I think we have money to do it. Like, we can do it, right? Now, I'm not saying that, you know, I don't want to commit all 10 million of what we have right now. However, I want to get as close as to, I want us to get as close to that as possible so that we can do this. Now, what I don't know, and this is for our city manager and our public works director, I don't know what that number is above the 5.2. I mean, is it another 2 or another 3 or so? I mean, I don't want to get into that conversation.
I don't think we know until we get the bids back.
Exactly. So what I'd like to suggest, and maybe this is part of the direction that I think we've all been sort of talking about, is, you know, and I think what I heard is, if we go out to bid for phase 1 and 2, or I forget what also you said, go out to bid for all 3 phases and see how much is necessary?
Yeah, so what we could do is basically, I'm going to speak a little bit out of turn, and Director Miri can correct me when I'm wrong, but go out to basically have phase 1 as the bid, and then all of the elements of phase 2 and phase 2 add alternate, make them all add alternates, so we're not required to do them. So what happens in a bid package is you have like the base contract, and then you can have add alternates where you can get bids on those different elements, and then you can pick and choose based on the budget. Did I do a good job describing that? Okay. So what you could do is have all of those elements of phase 2 and phase 2 add alternate, make them all add alternates, and then decide.
And that gives us a bigger menu of things to pull and include, and so
and then
forth.
we could do that in partnership with hard staff, depending on the costs.
So let me just sort of look up and down. I mean, and I'll even open this up for questions again for council. I mean, what do What do others feel about that? Councilmember Bonilla, I see your name up there. Oh, is this?
That's previous, but I'll go ahead and go since I have the mic. Thanks, Mayor. I support that approach. I just want to make sure that we're not compromising what's in phase 2. So I'm fine putting them all as alternates, but I think when we work with HARD and we're making those selections, we should prioritize what's in phase 2 and look at that lower park again. And then we can, negotiate what additional balance we want to allocate to this for the alternatives. But I say go out and let's get the numbers for all of it.
Okay, Councilmember Andrews.
I just had a question. So how long would it take to go out to bid, come back, get the bids? Because if we're planning on meeting with HARD, I would prefer to see the numbers before we have a joint work session. No, you don't want to do that? Okay, well, I'm having a hard time understanding how much phase 2 is going to actually cost without numbers.
So I think staff is going to go do the presentation to the HARD board. I think we want to try to get out to bid as soon as possible so we don't waste any more time and have any more cost escalation. I think when we see how the bids come back, that's when we could potentially have a joint discussion about which of the ad alternates make sense, or it could be some sort of conversation.
I'm seeing the directors disagree on this. I would like to hear more on why they would not want to see numbers before meeting.
Thank you. If I could make a suggestion, my suggestion would be that we discuss what the options are and what actually works. Some of the concerns have been maintenance and prioritization of additional park area, recreation areas, and some of those things, so that we can discuss some of those with staff about some of the prioritization and some of the things that are important for recreation, so that you'll know it doesn't make sense to bid on something, for instance, like if the park tread paving, I'm just throwing something out here, is cost prohibitive compared to something else, or if hypothetically some of the pathways gravel. I'm throwing two things out there, or maybe if we move something slightly over. Some of these design elements that we may suggest may actually save money and actually may be more efficient. So I would deal with that before you send it out to bid, because we would have to go through a whole review. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So
Okay.
if I just may say this, so I'm hearing not my idea, not the point I made. Go phase 1, phase 2, and then look at the add-ons on phase, and then later look at the add-ons.
Well, I think we want to go out for bid for the add-ons too, but not commit to adding them into the project. So I think if we go with phase 1 and phase 2, go get the bids for that, also get the bids for the add-on, and then once we realize what money we have left, we can determine what add-ons we want to add, and once they have this collaborative conversation, there might be more funding for those add-ons.
He's disagreeing with
Okay.
If I may, I'm still suggesting that before you commit to phase 1, there may be some elements in there that we could tweak that would be cost effective and actually be more efficient.
Okay.
So before you commit to anything specific other than funding.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that's what I'm suggesting is that the work session with the HARD board, I think that's where we would get that feedback if there's any tweaks to phase 1, phase 2, add alternates, whatever those would look like. We're happy to make sure that those get incorporated into whatever bid package gets sent out. Okay.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Okay, say that again.
Okay, so we will go to HARD with the work session.
Yeah.
We will get feedback on all of the elements, phase 1, phase 2 add alternates before we go out to bid, and that will determine, there may be some tweaks, but the council is comfortable with the overall funding approach and strategy and budget, and we'll work collaboratively with HARD to get the package that makes sense.
Okay.
Good.
That makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense to
Okay.
me. And I don't know if everyone wants to talk about that anymore. Okay. Good. All right. Okay. Okay. Councilmember Roach, and then Councilmember Syrup, and I just took it away from you. Do you still want to make a comment, or?
No, I'll just figure out estimates myself when I look at during the work session, because I can look it up myself. So thank you.
Okay. Okay. Councilmember Roach.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, the comments from Hart, because I agree that, they're right. If they can see something in phase one, that will help us save money, for some of the other items. But I mean, my recommendation is still, as far as cost, that we're not looking at the extra 4.8 million. I mean, so I'm willing to go $5 million into Measure C right now, not necessarily the other 5. So I'm cautioning that right now, that, whatever we can do to save money between the phase one, as staff has presented it, with, wiggle room between phase 2 and phase 2 alternates based on HARD's input. I'm still not necessarily looking to do all 10 million from Measure C. Open to it, but that's my caution right now. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Sire.
Thank you, Mayor. I completely agree with Councilmember Roach's comments here. I think what this conversation has evolved into is what is the budget that we're setting for ourselves. I'm really excited about this park. I want it to have as many amenities as possible, so the number of bullet points we see on the screen right now, as many as we can fit into whatever budget we decide, that's the goal. I think we all share that goal up here. If we wanted to stretch, I would say just the caution I would provide from my own perspective is, 6 is probably the highest I would want to go personally, because we are talking about, $10 million. And we've had conversations about the budget recently, so I'm just trying to be fiscally responsible here. I know we all are. I agree with the work plan that City Manager McAdoo laid out. I'm excited to hear what HARD's input is on these different projects and how we can potentially find some savings and add more features into this. I'm not interested in going the full 10 million, but I am interested in committing Measure C funds to seeing this project through and making it a success.
Perfect. Okay, and then one last comment, and then we can close this. My last comment is, on the phase 2 ad alternate, it says construct a science class or a science garden, and I was thinking, could this be something that the school district could join in on around doing like an outdoor STEM classroom or something to that nature? I mean,
We are happy to ask them.
Yeah.
I think they're generally reluctant to provide funding, especially if it's not. I mean, I think there's some restrictions on their funding
Sure.
about what qualifies as a classroom, but we can definitely explore
We
that.
can certainly. Okay. All right. No, that was it. Okay. Okay. I think that is it. I wanted to thank everybody for their comments, and I know our Director of Development Services was over there keeping up with us, taking notes, and her team. Thank you, and again, thank you to our architects and the designers. Mr. Mary, thank you very much for your work on this. And I will close this item, and then I'll wait for the transition, and we can start on the next item. Madam City Clerk, can we take a 7-minute break? Is that okay?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Recording stopped.
Actually, let me see, it's over, Madam City Clerk, is there a way we can turn down the heat? How hot is it in here? Let's see, yeah. Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah, it's, okay, looks like everybody is. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to reconvene the meeting at 9:07. And next we have item number 8, which is the 27865 Mannon Avenue track transfer, proposed vesting, tentative track map, track 8600, and the modification of an affordable housing and density bonus plan from the previously approved zone change. Site plan review, density bonus, and environmental review application number 202101491, and for a 22-unit townhome development located at 27865 Mannon Avenue. Okay, I will say this. APN 453-0090-014-00. Application TM 230009. Applicant is Abraham Hollow, Briscoe Construction, owner of Sunflower Mannon LLC. And wow, Ms. Ralston, that was quite a headline right there. So, Ms. Ralston, all right, is Ms. Bowser gonna?
Ms. Blanton.
Ms. Blanton, or did I say Ralston?
Ralston.
I apologize, Ms. Blanton.
No problem. I'm honored to be mistaken for Captain Ralston.
Ms. Blanton, go right ahead.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Elizabeth Blanton, Senior Planner. So the item we're going to be reviewing tonight is a new application for the previously approved Mannon Townhome project. So back in October of 2022, the council approved the Mannon Townhome project, which consisted of 3 entitlements: a rezoning, a site plan review for a 22-unit rental townhome development, and a density bonus. Since then, and before starting construction on the project, the applicant has come back to the city and submitted a new application to add a tentative tract map in order to convert the development from a rental project into an ownership project. As a result of that change, they're also proposing to make some modifications to the previously approved affordable housing and density bonus plan. So given that the council's original 2022 approval of the rezoning, site plan review, and density bonus still stand, tonight we'll only be asking you to make a decision on the tentative map and the modifications to the affordable housing and density bonus plan. So the project site is located just north of Tennyson Road on Mannon Avenue. As you can see on this map, it's in the heart of South Hayward, with many neighborhood amenities close by, including Tennyson Park, South Hayward BART, and the future Stack Center. Taking a closer look at the site itself, it comprises just under an acre at 27865 Mannon Avenue and is vacant with no existing structures on site. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, in 2022, the site was rezoned to medium-density residential, which corresponds with its general plan land use designation. No changes are proposed to the buildings or the site layout as a result of this new application, so the project's existing site plan review and density bonus approvals from 2022 still stand. What is being proposed is to add a subdivision map in order to allow the townhomes to be individually sold. Each townhome owner would own the rights to their specific unit, while the common areas surrounding the units would be collectively owned and maintained by an HOA. Now, as a result of this proposed change from rental to ownership, changes to the previously approved affordable housing plan are required, as the city's affordable housing ordinance has different requirements for rental and ownership projects. So specifically, instead of providing 2 on-site rental units that are deed restricted to be affordable to very low-income households, the affordable housing plan now proposes providing 2 on-site ownership units that will be deed restricted to very low-income households. The applicant further proposes paying an in-lieu fee for a small fractional unit that is now also required. As revised, the proposed modified affordable housing plan meets the requirements of the city's affordable housing ordinance for ownership projects. Now, in addition, the applicant is also requesting to amend their density bonus plan to include 2 additional waivers to reduce the queuing and vehicle turnaround space required in front of their security fence. And this is easier to explain with the diagram. So, in order to meet the municipal code requirements and project conditions, the project security gates are required to be set back 25 feet from the front property line. Now, in this case, setting the security gates back 25 feet would mean that the 4 townhome units in the front of the project would be located outside of the gates, and access to their garages would be totally blocked. So instead of eliminating these units or significantly redesigning them to reduce their size, the applicant is instead requesting additional density bonus waivers to allow the security gates to be set back just 10 feet from the property line, which is what you can see here with those yellow lines. As this request is necessary to maintain the density of the project, and per staff's analysis, it does not create any life safety concerns, state density bonus law requires that the city approve these requested waivers. Now, to help mitigate any potential impacts of the reduced security gate setback, the city's transportation division has added some specific conditions of approval to promote safety. So specifically, the development is required to provide designated entry and exit gates so the traffic flows one way through the development, red striping on the curbs immediately adjacent to the project driveways to allow for some on-street queuing room for vehicles that are entering and exiting the property. And in response to feedback from the Planning Commission, the developer will be required to install mirrors at each security gate to allow for improved visibility of potential cross-traffic. So to wrap up and summarize, staff has determined that the proposed tentative tract map complies with all applicable zoning and subdivision map act requirements. The proposed modifications to the affordable housing plan comply with the city's affordable housing ordinance. And the additional density bonus waivers related to the security fence are permitted and required to be approved per state density bonus law. At their February 22nd meeting, the Planning Commission voted 4-1 to recommend that the council adopt the attached resolution approving the proposed tentative tract map and modifications to the affordable housing and density bonus plan. This concludes staff's brief presentation, but city staff and the applicant team, who have heroically been waiting online the last couple of hours, are available to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Ms. Blanton. Thank you very much, and I apologize again. Okay, we have my first, well, actually, first we'll go to the questions on the dais. Councilmember Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor. Really appreciate this report. Thank you. What is stopping a large purchaser, say like a bank, from buying up the units and converting them into rentals? I'm just trying to understand the impetus for shifting them into condos and what might happen if they all become condos.
The applicant, I believe, is online, and they can speak to some of the reasoning for switching from a rental to ownership project.
Hi. One of the reasons is basically changing the interest rates and other factors taking into consideration. Management believes that ownership would be better than rentals. So that's one of the reasons we want to request the council members to consider this.
Thank you. And then I guess from staff's perspective, is there any local legislation that's currently in place that requires them to remain ownership opportunities, or would it be the prerogative of, let's say, someone coming in and buying to convert it to a rental?
Yeah, this came up. First of all, it wouldn't be able to be converted to a back to a rental project, but this came up when we were talking about with the applicant about their options of converting this project from a rental project to an ownership project. Originally, that was some of their intent, saying, "Oh, maybe we'll apply for the subdivision map, we'll hold on to some of the units, rent them out now, and then later sell them." I believe our housing manager, Christina Morales, is on the line. She can explain this better than I can, but banks don't tend to like that, because then essentially the HOA is controlled by one party. You know, if there's one owner of the majority of the units, so they get a little hesitant to lend in those situations. So the plan instead would be to sell them off individually. So there would be 22 different owners. But Christina, you can correct me if I got any of that wrong.
I think you pretty much got it. I think the main issue is normally in a condo project, you have to maintain a certain percentage of ownership units for it to remain financeable by the secondary market. So if in terms of the affordable units that are going to be in the property are going to be restricted in perpetuity. And under our affordable housing agreements, they have to maintain those properties as ownership units. So those individuals that have the affordable units would not be able to rent the properties ever. And then you would have, if then everybody who had a market rate unit rented their units, then the people who own the affordable units would limit their options on finding financing if the properties are if they ever try to sell them. So that it's better that it is maintained as a complete condo project than should try to make it some sort of hybrid project that may have trouble finding financing when future people want to purchase those units.
Understood. Thank you. I'll save my comments for after the questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. I was just wondering about the security gate and the turnaround area and all of that. So was the security gate put in after? Is that why? I mean, because why design it that way when you know the setback is 25?
It was a condition of approval that was added by our transportation division. The way our municipal code is written, it's a little bit flexible as to what that setback is, but based on the transportation division's analysis, there would have to be a 25-foot setback. So there's a condition of project approval that said 25 feet. Once the applicant got into the details of designing the project and applying for their building permits, it turned out that that was infeasible, which is why, since we were taking the project back to look at the tentative map and the affordable housing plan anyway, it was an opportunity to add some additional density bonus waivers as they're permitted to by state law.
Okay, and then, I mean, it's just funny because, you know, you feel like the 25 feet was for a reason, because I think it's going to get really busy on that street. I mean, you know, there's already a lot of multifamily housing across the street. They already park up that side of the street. And so in the morning, even though it sounds like there's going to be some queuing area to go in and out, I mean, I guess I'm concerned about that. I know we're not here to discuss that, but I guess my question is, in doing this, was there an ask that the owners or the developers just make 3 affordable, you know, because we're talking about waivers and the affordable housing element, just make that fractional in Luffy instead a 3rd affordable housing unit, because this is an ownership opportunity?
Correct. I can't speak to the conversations about that as they were happening with the housing division. Christina might jump in, but I can say it is an option in our affordable housing ordinance for them to do this. The fractional unit in this case is 0.04 unit, so it would really be a big jump to adding an additional unit.
Okay.
And
Okay,
I also believe, Christina, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they're providing deeper levels of affordability for the ownership units than is required by our ordinance, or am I incorrect
the
in
very
that?
low, yeah.
No, yeah, they are providing very low. I think also important to point out that the waivers are in the are required under the density bonus versus the affordable housing requirements.
Okay.
So they're actually entitled to the waivers because of what they're providing in terms of those very low income units under the density bonus.
All right, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Christina, I think you answered my question. My question was, I get one of the decisions we're making related to this track map is the affordable housing, but that's really 2 to 2, so there's no real material change there. And then the density bonus, the two things they're requesting in terms of waivers, they're actually entitled to by state law, so we can't prohibit them from doing that anyways. So
Correct.
Tonight's approval is more of a formality. I mean, or when it comes to the affordable units, we might have some wiggle room there, but that's really the only discussion point because the density bonus waivers are required by state law.
Correct. The density bonus waivers, I'd say, in my opinion, are the least flexible. We as jurisdictions have our hands tied unless there's a clear life safety issue, like it would prevent fire access or something like that, or wouldn't be built structurally to building code. We, just like other jurisdictions, can't deny them.
Makes sense. And I was thinking along the same lines as Councilmember Roche in terms of, can we add another unit? But when I saw kind of the fractional margin of 0.4, I was like, oh, that's so low, but I do appreciate the very low income, housing opportunities because we don't have those often, especially in the ownership market. So very excited to see that. And those are my only two questions. This is a pretty straightforward item tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Zermenio.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the report. I'm wondering if they reduced the number of trees.
No, they are still, as they were conditioned the first time around, all of the original conditions of approval still apply, so they still have the same number that
From
was
the
agreed upon
original,
last time.
okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Basically, nothing on the site plan changed
All right.
except the
That-
location of the security
All
fence.
right. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions. I will open up for public comment. I don't see any public comment. I will close public comment, return back to the dais, and let's see, Councilmember Syra.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move the item. I'm not opposed to this at all. I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't asking necessarily if the units were being subdivided, some for rental or some for ownership. I'm really all for creating new ownership opportunities in our city, especially when this is just an empty lot at the moment, and these could be residents in the middle of a housing crisis. My questions were more about understanding how we're ensuring that they remain ownership opportunities for folks, and not a large corporation like JP Morgan coming in and buying up the units just to rent them out again. So if we're going to do rental, I'm all for that because there's a lot of renters out there that can't afford to buy. But if we're going to do ownership, let's make sure it's ownership for everyday folks, and not another way for a corporation to make a buck off of us. So that's my hope, is that these remain home ownership opportunities for everyday people. And yeah, I'm happy to move the item.
Moved by Councilmember Syrup, second by Councilmember Goldstein, and I believe Councilmember Andrews had a comment.
Yes, I also wanted to say I'm supportive of the project. I am concerned about parking and hoping that we can just keep an eye on it. 22 units means 66 cars in my mind, if not the low is 44. So if there's something that we need to adjust after this project is done, I think we should take a look at it after it's built out and see how the dust settles.
And then does the seconder want to make a comment?
Just that I recall seeing this project in Planning Commission before, and it's essentially the same project, so I'm good with it.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. I also am supportive of these changes, but I did have a question that I wanted to follow up related to what Councilmember Syrup had mentioned, which is there some sort of way to put a provision? I don't know, but how do we prevent kind of his worry from occurring? Because I agree, what is preventing JP Morgan or whoever from coming in, buying all of these up, and then, renting them out? Or is that just something that we have no control over?
That's a good question. Christina, to your point, we have control over it. We have somewhat control over the affordable units. I'm not sure there's any way we as the city have control over the ownership of market rate units. Christina, please correct me if I'm wrong, if there's something City Manager McAdoo, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't have any control over the market rate units. The homeowners association would likely dictate terms and have some sort of say over how many properties would be allowed to be converted to rental. Because there is some risk to the property owners if the majority of the property converts to rental, then the remaining homeowners may have issues finding financing. So it would be something that people who live in the property would be able to discuss in their homeowners association, and they would likely, as part of their bylaws, have requirements and restrictions on what properties could be rented within the property overall, if there's a certain proportion of them. But that would be something that would be left to the homeowners that live there.
Got it. Thanks. I would prefer to have a little bit of kind of the longer queuing space for the security gate, but I understand that the state density law doesn't really give us too much say there. So I will be supporting these recommendations. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have another comment? Okay. Okay, so Councilmember Syrup and then Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Just to respond to Councilmember Bonilla's comments, Assemblymember Lee is actually working on legislation that would help prevent larger corporate landlords of maybe over 1,000 properties from being able to purchase within California. So that's on the table and maybe something for council to consider as part of our legislative lobbying package at the state level of being supportive of. And then, the hypothetical that could happen, and this is maybe half a question, half a comment, is let's say JP Morgan Chase wanted to buy the entire unit and become the HOA. Is that a possibility where then they could dictate the terms of converting to rental units?
It sounds like we don't have a lot within our control to stop that. I will say the CCNRs that are drafted, they're drafted before like the final map and certificates of occupancy are issued. That is something that the city looks at, so we can assist potentially in drafting language around that, but it's not something we have a lot of levers that we can pull to control that.
Understood. Just wanted to see if that was a possibility that could happen. But I appreciate this. I still stand by it. We need the housing.
Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I agree we need the housing, but I am concerned. I don't know what we can put in place with, because to Councilmember Andrews' point, to sort of monitor about the parking, because for example, the Masonic, that was another one we said we're going to monitor. That seems to be really difficult. I see people with families, little kids crossing the street to get to parking, so that's clearly not enough parking there. And I worry about, there's only 19 spots, and while I understand each unit has a spot, they could also turn them into an ADU by right and not have to fill in, right, not have to add parking to that.
Some of them, there's limitations, maximum of 25% of those garage spaces could be turned into ADUs, but yes, or people can use it for storage, as we know that happens all the time. Similarly, we don't have a lot of control over forcing people to put cars in their garages.
So that means there's only 19 spots.
There's 19 outdoor uncovered spots. Correct. 41 if you count the single garages.
And it's just a single garage in each one, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So I mean, it's obviously going to be a big impact on this community, and so I don't know what we can do. Maybe I'm asking, planning about what to monitor it. To Councilmember Andrews' points, like what does that even look like? Is that a conversation with the HOA? Like what can we do in that?
In this case, because of state density bonus law, not a lot.
Yeah.
It's something that they could have, if they wanted to, requested zero parking, and similarly, we would have had to grant
half
that.
A mile. Yeah.
So I will say we did talk to the developer a lot back in 2021, 2022, when the first round of this was coming around. We worked hard to get those 41 spaces on a relatively confined site. But at the end of the day, similar to the security gate waivers, there's actually not a ton we can do.
Okay, thank you, and I'm still going to support the item. So
I had a question, and the question I was going to ask is, can we determine and can we dictate where the affordable units are? I mean, I was looking at the map, or can they? How was that determined where they put the affordable units?
That's a good question. That was negotiated with the housing team. It's in the affordable housing plan, and essentially, the affordable units have to be of similar size, quantity, or materials, substantially the same as the market rate units. Christina, do you want to add anything about how you all determine which units would be earmarked as the affordable ones?
Yeah, turn
Christina,
on your
I
mic.
can see your lips moving, but we cannot hear you.
Luckily, I at least turned the camera on. Yeah, pretty much you summed it up. But if we look at the dispersion of the units and try to make sure they're not all congregated, that they're not in potentially the least desirable space. We also look at the size of the units to make sure that there's a proportional number, the number of bedrooms and the square footage are pretty comparable in terms of the average size of the units in the property, and that if there are large number of bedrooms in a unit, we're not just designating the smaller units as the affordable units. So we really try to make sure that people that are in the affordable units are getting a comparable unit to the ones in the market rate units.
So have the affordable units been determined for this project?
Yes, there's a map on the affordable housing plan, which I think is attachment.
Yeah, perfect.
Four,
Okay.
maybe?
All right, got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I don't see any other questions, and moved by Councilmember Syrup, seconded by Councilmember Goldstein, and Madam City Clerk, if you can take the roll, or if we can do the vote. There we go.
Madam City Clerk, my iPad was on something else when you called for the vote. Can you try it again?
Actually, I started the vote already. If you tell me, I'll be happy to do it from here.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Goldstein? Yes. Okay. Councilmember Cermeño? Okay. All right.
And the item passes unanimously with 7 votes. Thank you. Okay, we move on to our legislative business, which is the General Plan Annual Progress Report. Accept the Hayward 2040 General Plan Annual Progress Report for the calendar year 2023, and I believe our Development Services Director, Director Bowser, will turn it back over to.
Thank you, Mayor Salinas. Rosalind Thompson.
Ms. Thompson. Yeah, I can't
Planning
see your
Division.
name through the plastic, and I have a lot of barriers to look through. But Ms. Thompson, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you is the General Plan Annual Progress Report. In this presentation, I will be providing a report background, giving an update on the status of general plan programs, provide a list of upcoming priorities for this year, and highlight the programs aligned with the strategic roadmap projects. So the City of Hayward's current general plan was adopted in July 2014, and it is our latest update. It is a long-range, comprehensive plan that controls and regulates land uses and development in the city through 2040, and establishes a community-based vision to guide the future development of Hayward. It includes a series of goals, policies, and implementation programs designed to achieve the plan's vision. The general plan was a result of a nearly 2-year community outreach process to establish this community-based vision. The general plan contains a total of 143 implementation programs covering the plan's 11 elements or topics. The purpose of these elements is to guide the future development of the city, and as you can see on the slide, they encompass the following: land use, mobility, community safety, economic development, education and lifelong learning, hazards, natural resources, housing, health and quality of life, environmental justice, that was added earlier this year, and public facilities and services. So this presentation is part of a state requirement by the California Government Code for cities to provide a report on an annual basis to reflect progress on the general plan implementation. Upon Council's acceptance, staff will forward this annual report to the State Office of Planning and Research and the State Housing and Community Development Office. The General Plan Annual Progress Report was prepared by Development Services Department Planning Division in collaboration with and with input from various other city departments, including Public Works and Utilities, Fire, Police, Library Services, Housing, Maintenance Services, and the City Manager's Office. The report is intended to provide information on the measurable outcomes and actions associated with the implementation of all the general plan elements. As for the general plan program priorities, again, there are 143 implementation programs slated in 2 timeframes, short or near term and long term. The 2014 to 2019 timeframe covers both the short term and midterm projects. Out of these short and midterm programs, 59 were identified as annual or ongoing, which means they are expected to be implemented over the life of the general plan, that means to 2040, and 48 as being one-time programs for an annual of 107 short and midterm programs. The long-term time frame, which is from 2020 through 2040, includes 31 programs that were identified as annual or ongoing, and 5 as one-time programs, for a total of 36 programs. So this summary chart, which is also included in the staff report, shows the progress that the city has made in this past year. The chart is organized by time frame, 2014 to 2019 and 2020 to 2040, and also by status, showing programs that have been completed, are in progress, or have not been started. As shown in the bottom row, for total, the city successfully completed 38 of the general plan's implementation programs, which is three more than from the year prior, and has initiated or is currently working on 67 more. This indicates that almost 3/4 of the implementation programs are either complete or in progress. While preparing this report, it was also noticed that the city completed 3 more programs, which increased the percentage of completed programs from 28% in 2022 to 31% in 2023. Out of the programs that the general plan identified for initiation during the 2014 to 2019 timeframe, 31% are fully complete, 53% are in progress, and 16% have not yet been started. Input received from the various departments and divisions indicate that the programs that have not yet been started have been delayed for various reasons, including funding availability, lack of resources, shifting city priorities, and of course, recovery efforts from the effects of the pandemic, which can still be felt worldwide. For the 2020 to 2040 timeframe, 14% are complete, 28% are in progress, and 58% have not yet been started. Programs slated for initiation within the 2020 to 2040 timeframe have not yet been started and will begin as they are prioritized by the appropriate department and as staff and financial resources become available. Looking into this year and beyond, the following list of programs have been identified as priorities or are currently in progress this year. As you can see, we have a list of a lot of programs. Some highlights include the Historic Preservation Resource Center, which is a web-based resource center to promote Hayward's local historic resources and to provide resources and incentives to encourage historic preservation. As far as that item, the Planning Division has compiled resources to encourage historic preservation and will prepare a webpage in our handouts for the public in 2024. Also worth mentioning is a program about city commuter benefits. The city currently offers a pre-tax payroll deduction to employees for public transportation and or parking options with P&A Group. Staff evaluates options annually and will continue to improve and expand the program when possible. And finally, like many programs are delayed due to the pandemic, the library has received funding for a strategic plan, which is expected to be completed by the end of July 2024. So this item is a routine operational item, and it does not relate to any of the 6 priorities outlined in the council's strategic roadmap. But this slide shows some of the programs in the general plan that are also identified in the city council strategic roadmap. For instance, we have the comprehensive zoning update, the branding and marketing program, the concierge program to recruit clean energy and technologies, community emergency response team program, foreclosure prevention program, and collision data reporting. Our next steps. Upon acceptance of this report by the council, staff will forward the progress report to the state's Office of Planning and Research to satisfy the state requirements. Staff will also update the general plan on the city's website to reflect the latest updates in this report. And over the next year, staff from various departments will continue to take the lead on program implementation and thus further the general plan's goals and policies. That completes staff's presentation on this item, and I am available for any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Okay, before I go to public comment, I'll ask if there's any questions from the council. I don't see any. No, I'm kidding. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a couple of questions. Can I get clarification on the ombudsman service and what does that mean in terms of service?
So unfortunately, I don't have the department that's responsible here to respond to that.
Okay, maybe I can.
Yeah, what I would suggest is we'll just, if we don't have someone here to answer the specific question, we'll take notes and we'll do a follow-up informational report to
totally-
council or an email with a summary of responses.
That's totally fine. I should have asked this in advance, so apologies on my end. But also wanted to see, this is something that you can probably look into later. I would like to see how the Town and Gown Education Partnership and the Education City, how they all kind of work together, maybe support each other. If I can get clarification on that. And then if I can also request of staff, is it possible if I can see the shuttle service studies? Okay, that sounds like a yes. And then also the Cultural Commission and how, if it works with the International Business Program, if that is a program. I haven't heard a lot of these things that are identified in the general plan, so these are the ones that I've highlighted that I would like to get more information on, and that's okay? Okay, great, thanks.
Councilmember Syra.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate this report. I feel like I wish every resident would look at this and just see, how much the city is planning to do and how much it's done already. I also think for future council members, as part of an orientation, this would be incredibly helpful just to, help ground folks in the work that's currently being done. Because I know a lot of us come in and we want to shake everything up. I just wanted to point out M14 Transit Rider Information Study. It says not started at the moment. It wasn't included in the Climate Action Plan. I guess my request is maybe could we bump that to the AC Transit Interagency Liaison Committee, or could staff maybe work with their staff to put that on the agenda? Because I think we could probably get that work done there. Is that doable?
We can take note of it and ask our transportation staff to follow up, but yes, that would probably work.
Okay, thank you. That's all for now, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. So seeing no other speakers. Oh, sorry. Councilmember, here it is. Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Thompson, for the report. It's obviously really exhaustive. There's so much going on. I was wondering, thank you, Councilmember Andrews, about the shuttle service. I also would like to see that report. And I wonder if that's also a partnership with AC Transit as well.
It has been brought up in the ILC.
Yeah, great. Okay, because it just seems like there's something there we can, coordinate. I also wanted to know about the Transportation Demand Management Plan. That's a project not started, so maybe, if we're just giving questions now to get answers later, I was really interested in that on Planning Commission, and just wondering how they're doing that on Planning Commission. If there's, we don't have a plan in place, I guess it's probably piecemeal at this point, but I'm interested in that one. And then the micromobility plan, just want to make sure that's in progress. How is that evolving over time as we watch successes and failures in other cities? Because I think, there have been some big moves that didn't quite work out, and then other things that have been really successful. And so just, as that evolves, want to make sure that's, that obviously there's sort of before we go forward, that we make sure we're learning from other cities while it's still in progress. And then the other question I had was on the Homeless Services Partnership Program. Is that LINK? Because I understand that's what the LINK is doing, right?
Can you highlight which number? I'm trying to look at the program list and trying to figure out which one you're referring to.
Sorry, you're right. I need to look it up too. I put it in my notes, but I didn't carry over the number. Hold on.
Yeah, sorry.
If anyone finds it before I do, let me know. Let's see, I have it up here. Let me search in here.
Because if I read the description, I can probably tell you where it is, but I'm not
Right,
off the top of my head. I can't.
See if I can find it. Wait, you're
Let's see.
fine.
That's okay.
Found. Wait.
14 of 38. Oh, here, I found it. Okay. It's CS4. It's on page 15 of 38.
Thank you. You know, just because it sounds
So
like.
I think
sorry,
this was the development of the Let's House Hayward plan. So
okay.
that's what we call it now. And so we are, yes, continuing to do work on all of those elements.
Okay,
of the plan.
maybe that's, yeah, just because it seems
It's
like.
not just the link team, it is
Okay,
all
all of it.
components of our
Okay.
homelessness response plan.
Okay, and that's one of those projects I seem like that's a never-ending project, right? That's
Correct.
just an ongoing thing. It's not like.
Until we solve homelessness.
Yes, exactly. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all for now. Thanks, Mayor.
And then I believe Councilmember Zermenio is back online, but now he's back
Yes,
off.
I
So-
was offline. Thank you, Mayor. The list of priorities is tremendous, and I love it. Are there any other projects that can fit into those priorities so that it really becomes exhaustive and includes certain?
Well, we couple this with the strategic roadmap. So I think the
Okay.
documents together are meant to create a sort of comprehensive overview of the key priorities for the city council and the key
Okay.
policy direction.
It's very comprehensive, so it's a good plan. Thank you for the presentation.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I was on the 2012 General Plan Update Task Force, and there's something about staying connected to this project over this many years that is uniquely gratifying and satisfying, especially because staff has really done an exceptional job of completing the tasks, staying engaged with the tasks, and in any event, it's just a really unique experience for me. This general plan at one point was taken from a stack of papers about this thick and put online, and it's still online, right? Yeah, very nice. So literally anybody that wants to know what we're up to can go to that online resource, search through it, and find exactly what they're looking for. A little bit easier than flipping through papers. But anyway, I just wanted to compliment you on and all of staff working with you to make the great progress that we see. So thank you.
And Councilmember Syrup.
Sorry, I just have one more additional small comment. M20 and M22 are parking requirements / enforcement in the truck route study. Neither of those were included in this iteration of the climate action plan. I think my request would be whenever we do update it next to incorporate that into it. You know, as we develop more housing, parking becomes an issue, and I think it's important for us to be proactive about exploring ways for us to create more parking, not necessarily through more lots, but maybe through enforcement mechanisms. I know it's kind of a third rail, but every city uses it as a way of, you know, creating more parking supply without having to flatten their land with more pavement. And then truck route studies as well. We've attended a few neighborhood traffic calming meetings, and folks complain about trucks coming through their neighborhoods, maybe because a road is a minor arterial, or I think it would be good for us to know how trucks are moving in our city, and evaluate what steps we might want to take to make some neighborhoods safer or remove that traffic from their neighborhoods. So I guess the question I'd have for staff here in relationship to this when we get the information packet back is, what would a timeline look like for us to begin prioritizing these? I know we have our strategic roadmap set up already. We have our climate action plan, but where in the general plan timeline up until 2040 does it make sense in staff's mind to begin addressing some of these topics?
I think the truck route study is actually not just transportation. I think it involves PD resources as well, because I think there's a combination of factors that go into where truck routes are designated. So we can definitely have a conversation, but I think given the limited, the number of vacancies we've had in the transportation staff, and then I think also in PD staff, so we can take a look at that with staff resources and sort of evaluate whether it makes sense to think of that in the context of the climate action plan. So yeah, absolutely.
Great, yeah, and just to reiterate, the expectation isn't that this is immediate, it's just understanding when staff might think about beginning to assess it.
Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor, and great report tonight. I accept the report, so I'll go ahead and move this item.
Moved by Councilmember Bonilla.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Andrews. And I don't see any further. I don't see any other questions. And Madam City
Mayor
Court.
Salinas, I think we just to open public
Oh,
comment.
that's right, because before we vote, we have to have public comment. So before we vote, open up public comment. Is there anybody in the chamber that would like to make a public comment? Seeing none, I'd like to close public comment and then come back up to the dais, and if we could have a repeat of what we just did a second ago. Moved by Councilmember Bonilla, seconded by Councilmember Andrews. Madam City Clerk, we can vote now. Oh, it was up and down.
Councilmember Goldstein? Yes. Mayor Salinas? Mayor Salinas?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Cermeño? Okay. And Councilmember Goldstein, that was a yes, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, and it unanimously passes with 7 yes votes. Okay, next is council reports and announcements. Does anybody have a report? And we have Council Member Roach, and I bet I know what she's going to comment on.
What do you think?
I don't know.
So as the liaison to the Library Commission, I'm carrying forward another library announcement on the heels of the city manager's announcement earlier from our director. Did you know that the library has classes and support for people wanting to take the citizenship test? Classes are available in person or online. These free citizenship classes are designed to help adults, including those at the beginning to intermediate ESL level, to successfully pass the citizenship test by practicing for the reading, writing, and civic portions of the test. Students will be given a free textbook, school supplies, and a backpack to assist with their studies. Please check the library's events calendar at hayward.librarycalendar.com and search for the keyword citizenship to find out about upcoming classes. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilmember Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor. Didn't feel appropriate being the last person to speak on the proclamation for International Women's Day earlier, but I did want to just express my gratitude for the women that make this city run. You know, there was a point in time when women were barred from the workplace, and so when we celebrate International Women's Day, I also want to remind us that it's more than just a celebration. It's also a charge for us to continue to advance, gender equality in our society, to continue to explore where there are inequities and do what we can, especially when we're in positions of power, to correct those. So thank you to the women who literally make this city run, and yeah, happy International Women's Month.
Thank you. Okay, just a couple of, Councilmember Cermeño.
I'm wondering if you're going to announce the Hayward College night, and if you're not, I will. So go ahead, yours. No, yours.
All right, okay, got it. So a couple things before. One is a minor complaint, but I just wanted to, we have all this technology up here, and in the last couple of meetings, it's hard to vote it's hard to vote, and there's a lot of glitches. So I just like to urge, city clerk and maybe our IT department to sort of refine this, because it does get choppy and messy, and makes us look a little unorganized.
We will try to see what we can do, and we'll work on that. I think also just making sure that every device is, like when we're ready to vote, every device is back on the screen where we're ready to vote. So we'll just make sure there's maybe some guidelines and some reminders for folks on how to leverage everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Secondly, I just wanted to, and now I have a congratulatory remark. I thought this is what Councilmember Roach was going to say, but on Sunday was the Gaelic Celtic event at Chabot College, and the Bay Philharmonic group has just really done a phenomenal job, of just bringing some really, really good and substantive cultural events to the city. The show that was at Chabot College on Sunday was, it was really, really good. The the artists that they brought were just some top-notch artists, and I know that they have done other shows. They did shows last year for the holidays, and so if anybody in the future sees one of these shows at Chabot College, really support it, because they really have made Hayward their home, and I think it's just a phenomenal event. Secondly, tomorrow at 4:30 to 7 o'clock, there's going to be over 30 colleges here at City Hall tabling, and we're going to have one big City of Hayward college night for all high school students in Hayward and the Hayward area. And so if you have kids that are thinking about college, or who are applying to college and who are planning to go to college, we're not only going to have colleges and universities here, but we're also going to have people here talking about how to pay for college and how to finance college. And if you have any questions about college, it'll be here. It really is a place to get information about financial aid and FAFSA and scholarships and so forth. So tomorrow here at City Hall at 4:30 to 7, you know, I'm sure, I don't know how many of us will be out there tomorrow, but I'm trying to make it out to San Francisco State tomorrow sometime to grab a sweatshirt so I can, you know, wear my colors. So, Chabot will be here. Cal State East Bay will be here. You know, I don't know if they're going to be here or not, but I'm going to commit San Francisco State. I don't know. I'm sure they'll be here. I don't know. But anyways, it should be a really neat event. There's going to be a lot of students here at City Hall. So thank you for that, Councilmember Andrews. If there are no further council reports, I'd like to go to our council referral. We do have one tonight, and it's item number 10, council member referral, Juneteenth marquee event. And this is a report from our very own Councilmember Andrews and Councilmember Roach. And I guess I'll pass it over to Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for reviewing this item. What we would like to do is see if we can have Juneteenth be a marquee event similar to the Martin Luther King Jr. event. That is a city-sponsored led event. What we would like to do is see if we can get staff to have in-kind support for planning and staffing the event for the day. If possible, in the future, I know this year we're looking at budget very critically, but seeing if we can have matching funds up to $15,000. The reason why we're asking for this particular event is because it is a holiday that is of utmost importance for a lot of our population. Many see that 4th of July is not necessarily Independence Day. Not everyone was free until 89 years later. So we would like to see if this is possible, if we can have this be a marquee event. I know that staff is looking into how we manage cultural events overall, and this can be a test case of how we review those types of events and how the city participates. There is a separate committee that is a group of committee members that does the heavy lifting, and we do not rely on the city purely for the fundraising. That is something that the committee handles, but we would like to see that same support we see for MLK for Juneteenth. If Councilmember Roach, thank you for partnering with me on this referral.
Councilmember Roach.
I'm supporting Councilmember Andrews on this. She's worked really hard the last 2 years to make to bring Juneteenth to Hayward, and 2 successful events, one downtown and one with as part of a street party. And so I think she's shown the draw for such an event, and the importance the community puts on this event, so I'm supporting her on this. And I'm interested to hear what the council thinks on the staff recommendations with the referral. So thank you, Councilmember Andrews.
Okay, I have a comment by Councilmember Syrup.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very supportive of this. At least for tonight, I think committing at least $15,000 to help support this event and making it successful makes sense to me as an investment in continuing this tradition in Hayward. Both of the Juneteenth events that I've attended, and there's only been 2 so far, is that right?
It's been 3, but the
Okay.
first one was a test case after COVID. We didn't find out we can actually have events. The governor told us literally 3 days before. So it was more of an opportunity to get COVID vaccinations.
Got it. Okay. Well, for the ones that I attended, and I don't know if I was at the vaccination one, they were phenomenal events. They activated our park. They activated our downtown. I don't think I've seen B Street and Main Street that full in a long time. So I'm happy to make sure that this one is a success yet again. Reading through the staff recommendations around forming of a task force, I do want to be sensitive to staff time and staff capacity. So I don't know if I'm ready to move forward in saying let's create that committee just yet. I want to hear what the work session entails and what staff brings back. But I do like the way that you're thinking about this and whether or not we pursue, let's say, a neighborhood services or events position in the future, or, we figure out having an internal events support staff internally or an events support committee internally. There seems to be a lot of different ways to crack this. And I'm really curious to hear what staff thinks is the appropriate approach here. But if the funding is there to help support this, I'm supportive of that. And I'm also happy, I mentioned this to you before, and this was in the staff report, but council has some discretionary funds that can be used for community events, and I'm happy to commit some of that to this event too.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm supportive, and I would also be willing to use my discretionary funding to pitch into it. I would also request whatever we do to move forward. So, staff's recommendation to take some time, do some more analysis. I would like to see more of our community partners and Chamber of Commerce involved in that. And I think, quite frankly, a lot of the planning and event organizing and stuff, I think they would be willing to step up and share in that. It's a wonderful idea. It's a great event. I've enjoyed the 2 that I went to, and I just think it's a fantastic idea. So you have my support.
Councilmember Zermenio.
Thank you, Mayor, and I also support this. I'm thinking of the people's budget, which is something like 200,000 in my mind. This is something for the people, for the resident. It's resident-centered, culturally centered, bringing people downtown. So let's work on that. And I'll contribute myself. As you know, I've always done.
Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Andrews, for your leadership on this referral, and Councilmember Roche for also bringing this forward. I have no issues with this, and I plan to support this referral. The only question that I have is providing $15,000. Is that sort of on par with what we provide for other events, or is that too low, or is that about in the ballpark?
So that's what the staff would need to analyze, I think, when the task force is formed, because the MLK event, they only receive a certain amount of budget, but with the staff time, it's probably more than that. So we basically based our request based off of previous year's budget. So we're asking for matching. It doesn't have to necessarily be this year. The more important thing is looking at marquee events, having better coordination with city staff, having a process to manage culturally important events that the city puts on every year, and us being part of that process is
Absolutely.
the main reason why I'm bringing the referral.
Sounds great. And thanks again for your leadership here.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Councilmember Syra.
Thank you. So if we were to make a motion tonight, and it sounds like we're more or less in alignment on that, would the motion be just to allocate the $15,000 for this event only, and then have staff come back for a work session?
I would say for me, it's more asking for approval for in-kind support, more so than even the donation, but more in-kind support from staff to help with the day of the event and figure out budget. We wanted to look at the budget first before approving.
Yeah, and I think staff has outlined a number, the bullet points, in terms of the support that we can provide to this year's event. And then again, if the council wants to allocate some amount of money towards the event this year, And then we would recommend coming back in a work session in August to just sort of comprehensively look at all of our events. I do believe that the cash amount that is given to some of the other events is around $5,000. Some of the other signature events like MLK and I think Cinco de Mayo, I think it's $5,000. So but that's obviously up to the council's discretion on how much money they would like to put towards this event this year.
Councilmember Zermino.
Just a quick note to colleague Bonillas. Our Cinco de Mayo event is nearing $30,000 as far as the budget, so they do get expensive. So.
All right. Councilmember Andrews, are you going to move this item since you were the referral maker?
Yes, I would like to move the item.
With all three things in it, including the $15,000.
Yes.
This sounds good.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Roach.
Question before we vote?
Question by Councilmember Syra.
So just to be clear, it's the 3 items in line with staff's recommendations. Is that correct? So it's the staff support that they say they're able to offer, and then we're going to have a work session around the committee, and then we are deciding as a council to allocate the $15,000.
Yes.
Okay, just want to clarify. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I don't think we vote on this, right? It's just the directing. Yeah, we just direct staff. Oh, we do need a vote. Okay. So
And
moved
also
by Councilmember
open public
Andrews,
comment.
second by Councilmember Roach. Madam City Clerk.
Public comment. Mayor, sorry, but
Do I open it up for public comment?
correct.
Okay. So before we move in second, I'd like to open up for public comment. Seeing no public comment, a return to the dais, moved by Councilmember Andrews, seconded by Councilmember Roach. Madam City Clerk, if you can take the roll, or we can vote.
And Mayor, since we're having technical difficulties, I'll just go ahead and call Councilmember Andrews.
I thank you to all my
Councilmember
colleagues
Bonilla
supporting
Jr.?
this event.
Yes.
Councilmember Goldstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Roach?
Yes.
Councilmember Syrup?
Yes.
Councilmember Cermeño? Mayor Salinas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. Our next meeting is on March 26, 2024 at 7 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, meeting's adjourned.